All right, welcome back to Dead of Ages Past, Session 2, Seeing Double. Last session, there was an interesting series of events that led to the incarceration of a renegade mage, the death of the magical magistrate known as the Magier, Razik, as he was thrown out of his tower by a mysterious individual, and two of the members of the group, Agent 87 and Yenlorin, the up-and-coming magician, have been incarcerated, rather detained and held to quarters, specifically the quarters of one Agent 87 who has been identified as Valette. The next morning, after a slightly lame series of sleeping, but a great series of dialogues, Saer leaves after going through the normal rigmarole of living and heads to the Magier's tower, wanting to speak to the renegade mage that was detained. She's met on the road by Renn, who is court-ordered to return back to the tower at a specific hour. They'll be encountering one another on the road in-game, but just behind them, Brox and Saer's husband, who is a bit concerned and worried about her going to law enforcement. Doesn't say why, just definitely can see it on his face. The two of them leave together to catch up with her, hopefully to see her at the tower. And last but not least, Gilbert met with a mysterious fellow who was speaking to his current lord, and the conversation seemed a bit sinister. Gilbert decided to head to the Magier's tower himself, and by what means, Kevin, will Gilbert make his way to the tower?
Oh, man. I guess from where I am, I could get a cable car there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that then, because I guess I could go, where's my little point?
So
I could go, up this way, right? And then go up this way.
Yeah. If you actually look at it, there's actually a specific road that kind of winds around the outside of the port district, the orange-colored portion of the map. It actually stays in one connection and leads up to the intersection just southeast of the Magier's Tower, and it lets off there. So it's definitely going to save you a lot of time.
Oh, like this one down here, you mean?
Well, if you look, there's like a specific... Yeah, it's actually the one that goes up in Knuckles, yep. And heads that way. So we're just going to go ahead and put you here on cable car. And next up, let's go ahead and get to the interesting party. Saer and Renn, you didn't have much exchange when you met on the road. I believe I cut from you guys after you saw each other. So feel free to interact.
So if I remember correctly, I was trying to convince Saer to come along, and she was being a little bit standoffish.
I mean, to be fair, she was already heading that direction, and you simply interrupted her walk.
Okay. Well, if Renn understands that that's the case, he's going to walk beside her and just let her go her way as long as they're going in the same direction. And say something like, so tell me more about yourself. Have you always lived here?
I have lived here long enough.
That is a very mysterious answer, and I have to say that as a detective, I kind of like it. I couldn't help but notice, again, detective, that you look very much like the other character of Agent 87. What's that about?
You will have to talk to the Undaunted.
What do I notice about Saer's sort of demeanor when she says that? Is she being evasive? Is she sort of not understand, like just unaware of what's happening herself?
Obviously, I'm not going to kind of allow you to just kind of contest insight-wise against a PC. I'll just roll something real quick and kind of let you know what might be portrayed there. So she doesn't seem to be kind of trying to withhold anything. She just seems to be just kind of genuinely standoffish, because you, after thinking about it, recognize your tone was a bit, it seemed like you were accusing her of something. Not sure what, but the things you do note primarily about her is she does seem determined. She does want to go to the tower. It seems very important to her. But you also notice like kind of more mundane things. She's a very hardworking person. You can tell that just by the manner of her her hands and her hair and the way she's kind of composed herself this morning. And you can also kind of tell too that she's not from here. Her accent is very Western. You're certain that she's from Jernara's province just based on that alone.
Okay. So since it's pretty clear she doesn't want to talk too much, I'm just going to let her do her thing and just proceed beside her without talking anymore. So, yeah.
All right, perfect. So Valette doesn't sleep very much, but around 7 a.m., you and your compatriot, real quick, it's just me being dumb. Do half-elves trance, or is that wrong? They don't, do they?
I thought it was sleep, but
okay.
They are immune to being charmed or the sleep spell.
Okay, so the defenses of a elf, but not the sleep cycle.
Not
okay.
the trance, you got it.
So you wake up to a knock at the door, and Valette, you're kind of already active, moving about. Not sure what to do because you aren't sure what to do. But there's a knock at the door.
Come in.
The knocks again.
One moment. And I proceed to the door and open it.
Okay. Standing in front of you is one of the operatives of the Conglomerate, a lowling, to your knowledge, and he says, "I've been sent up here to retrieve Yenlorin for questioning."
I look back to Yenlorin and sort of make a gesture of... Go ahead.
Follow. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. The doors left open and the two exit. You head downstairs, Zach, Yenlorin, with this gentleman, and as you're coming down the winding stairs that kind of lead into that main courtroom, the number of doors off to the side, you see one of them open, and out comes two individuals. One is a man wearing bright, kind of just yellow and red robes. It appears he has some sort of icon, like connecting his cloak. It looks like some sort of noble brooch or something with a noble symbol. If you're trained in history, you can go ahead and make a history intelligence check. If you're not trained in history, don't bother. Is that a yes, you're trained?
That's a... I think my roll 20 froze.
Okay, hold on, I'll check.
Thank you.
You're just having all the fun tonight, buddy.
This is upsetting.
History is not your cup of tea. So, some sort of stuffy noble. He comes out, and the other person that exits out of the room with him is covered in full plate armor from top to bottom, kind of a greenish color mixed with black. There's kind of a crown kind of floating above his head, and his eyes seem to be a single solid color, and he kind of turns and looks in your direction. He looks to the noble and says, kind of just dryly, "And you will make sure that this is handled." The man kind of looks at him sheepishly, nods his head. The armored man starts walking towards the operative that's leading you towards the main hall, and towards that room specifically. As the operative looks like he's about to talk, the armored man kind of raises his hand and looks to you. "Do you know who I am?"
This knowledge I do not have.
"I am Adrian Vaticus. I am the Margrave of this kingdom, and I'm also the one who is determined that what the Conglomerate is trying to do here to one of the free peoples of this land is criminal. You are under my care so far as the law goes. If you are brought to trial, this gentleman," and he gestures towards the noble, "will be your representative. If you do not wish to have him as your representative, then we can, of course, allow you to represent yourself. But based on your accent and your address, I don't think you're from around here, so I'm pretty certain you're not terribly familiar with the laws.
This accurate statement, yes.
Then he will represent you. And he looks to him again and he says, make sure that he's handled as if you were trying to defend me. And the man kind of like sheepishly backs away, and you can notice a bead of sweat kind of drip down from his brow. Yes, my lord, he says in response.
Does that tell me anything? What is his intention behind that? Why is he defending me and also accusing me? I'm really lost.
You're kind of thinking about it, and you're trying to kind of factor in why this apparently powerful, and Margrave is basically like one under a duke. So
right.
They're kind of important. They're the ones who collect the taxes and also enforce the laws of the emperor in the empire. They're not technically aligned to the king. They're aligned to the emperor. And so apparently this specific case where a Magier was killed seems to be of importance, and they want to make sure that you aren't incarcerated. It sounds like, from what he said, the conglomerate is acting unlawfully in this practice and trying to incarcerate you and trying to punish you.
But the last part, defend him as if you were defending me.
Sounds like it's more of a threat to the person to kind of try and like wind them into doing their best.
There was nothing underneath that was like he was saying that to make me feel better, but he was hinting to the guy like, you better...
It was both of those things. It was to make you feel good and to make him kind of like, oh shit, this is serious business.
Cool. He wasn't like subtly saying to the guy, throw the case.
By the way, real quick, and I just want to get this out there. The headset's not perfect, but is everybody getting like Dragon Strike vibes from me right now? Like I'm just a floating head in black space?
Yes, very much so.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? It's like you have like a blue screen, or I don't even know what you're doing.
Yeah, I just got to figure out some way to make it so I don't look like I have
See,
a headset on, but I don't know how. I'll maybe take it out. And
I kind of like the headset because it works almost like a balloon tether that's keeping your head from
That is
floating
nice.
all the way off the screen. You know what I mean?
I-
It's like
Yeah.
if you didn't have the headset on, John would just keep floating off into
Yeah.
space.
If you
If
had
the
red
headset
glowing
kind of keeps
eyes, it
it
would
to
be
the
perfect.
you're like a balloon. You kind of float a little bit one way, a little bit the other way, but you got that tether keeping you close.
It's a windy day here in the void. But anyway, the
It's a
fellow
beautiful day in this void.
the fellow kind of looks at you and says, "I've got some papers on you, but please come with me into this side room. I do have some questions for you regarding the night."
This is understandable. Happy to answer questions.
Yep, and he kind of just curtly enters into the chamber. Do you have any questions for him that are direct? Do you have any questions for him before he starts going into his bit, or no?
I'm gonna sit. I don't even know what I'm accused of or anything. I mean, I know what I'm accused of, but I think my character is playing that he's dumb and confused.
Okay, so you're not. Do you have any questions that you would offhandedly ask before? Because I'm going to shift if you don't, because I'm not going to directly interrogate you. I'm going to cut some other people in. But do you have any questions you want to ask him before I cut away? Any pleasantries?
The one thing he would say is, so you think I kill man?
I don't get paid to think. I get paid to represent.
I'm not interested in what man gets paid for. I think opinion for each man important.
The door
Should be shared.
The door shuts behind him, and he kind of looks to you, and he says, "One moment." He flicks his fingers, like in a very strange fashion, and starts whispering words in Draconic. The second he does so, you feel this kind of just sensation kind of exit out from him and surround the walls of the room. Listen. I don't care if you butchered the Emperor himself. The Margrave has charged me to ensure that you do not get the guilty verdict in regards to what the Magier is going to be presenting to you. Do you understand?
I'm happy if you're happy.
My name is Kezin Lysette, and he sits at the table, slides open his papers, and says, "Let us begin." Cut from you guys, moving to Brox. You're walking alongside the husband. You definitely still kind of have a rapport back and forth. But as you're kind of moving along the street, you do notice that he kind of moves a bit slower than you would expect a taller man like that. And it doesn't look like he's doing so to favor your short-footed speed or short-legged speed. Nothing?
Just old.
Yeah, you can make either wisdom medicine check or a wisdom insight check, your choice, to kind of gauge what's going on here with this guy.
Got a 5.
So, yeah, you think he's probably just old.
Better hurry up.
Yeah.
If you wanna get
Yeah, I'm sorry. He kind of looks, and a cable car kind of passes you guys by, and he looks to you and he says, "You walked all the way from Red Wheel? You didn't take a car or anything?"
Yeah, I walked.
It's that dwarvish pride. He shakes his head and like straightens up his gait and starts walking a little faster.
How far away is this place she's heading?
Just a few more blocks. You can actually see the spire. The tower kind of looms heavily. Even in Red Wheel, you can see the Magier's Tower. It's 700 feet tall, and it kind of glistens and glows with bright lights at night.
How crowded is it right now?
The streets or the towers around?
The streets that we're walking through.
Not terribly busy. Spellmoth it's the central city, or center portion of the city, but most people pass through it. Some people do kind of stop at the stores there, but it's more like old shops that have kind of fallen away and are currently held onto by the people who, purchased those properties, or shops that are open and are popular and kind of act as like a central hub for people. So you'll see like smaller spots with busier, arrangements, and then you'll see a lot more emptier shops and houses.
Already, and can I use my goggles to look ahead and see if I can spot out Saer?
Go ahead and make a wisdom perception check with advantage.
18.
The goggles, you kind of turn them and move them about and kind of keep looking. Every so often, as you guys are walking, you hop up on like a stone rail to kind of get height over a lot of some of the people that are passing by, or the cars or what have you. And eventually you do see her blonde head kind of sticking out brightly in the morning sunlight. And she appears to be walking with the elf from last night.
I've spotted us. It's just ahead. Keep it moving, old timer.
Okay. And you guys start hoofing it, but it seems like eventually it gets to a point where you realize that you're going to lose them because speed. Even if you...
At least I have an idea.
Yeah, you have an idea. You can definitely find them. You'll get there shortly after them. Okay. Valette, you're sitting there kind of waiting, and the door is knocked upon again.
I go and answer it.
He looks to you and he says, "Start clearing out your things. Prepare to leave the tower."
Understood. And I collect things and wait for them to come get me.
No, the guy just stands there and waits for you.
Oh, okay, then I collect my things, horsey on the back, and
Okay.
follow him.
Make an insight check for me with wisdom insight. Something off about this guy. It seems like this wouldn't, and you also think this isn't standard procedure. If you were being sent down for questioning or kind of like some sort of pre-trial situation, the person wouldn't ask you to gather your things.
Okay. Is he wearing conglomerate type clothing?
Conglomerated out. Yep, it looks like he's actually of the operative status. Doesn't look familiar though, as you kind of pass him up and down. But make a raw intelligence check. He could definitely be someone. He definitely could be someone that works here.
And operative, that's just the very base rank, correct?
Correct.
Okay. May I ask where we are going? Standard procedure is, in any kind of case, for someone to be taken to a questioning room.
Correct. You're not being taken to a questioning room. You're being taken down to the dungeons.
Understood.
Your effects will be placed in lockup, and if you are released at any point, you will be released with your articles.
And does that sound at all off? I mean, maybe slightly odd, but like that happened.
No, it's definitely your worst fear, for sure. But yeah, it does sound like that's the case.
Okay. And when may I expect to be called upon to give a statement?
I do not know. I have not been given any information besides what I've been told to do. Recover you and your articles and take you down to the dungeons.
And one last thing before we depart. Who did give you your orders?
The new mage here.
And what is their name?
I do not know if I have been instructed to grant that information as of yet.
Now, when a major dies, is it standard that one can get appointed this quickly, or?
No. Typically, if someone dies, it's an effort to try and get that seat filled. The only reason that it would fill this quickly is if someone were sent from somewhere else, or someone was traveling here and happens to be present.
Kill him!
Nah, I don't know if I'd do that.
Kill him anyway!
May I, before departing, request that a formal writ be acquired from someone as to these orders that I might inspect?
You see him kind of looking over his shoulder as you kind of stop, turn around, and then ask that question. He kind of turns and looks back at you with kind of just annoyed and slightly sad eyes, and he says, "Of course." And he kind of looks at you and looks over his shoulder again. "I'm sorry," he says. "I'm sorry. I will attain that writ for you." And he kind of stops and turns around and walks away.
I will wait for it patiently.
Okay.
And I shut my door, go, and sort of just sit cross-legged on my knees or something and
Just
wait for the
meditate.
return.
No problem. Okay. The cable car kind of stops at a specific point, not too far off from where you're wanting to go, and you kind of hop out, Gilbert, and kind of start walking. You stand out like a sore thumb on the streets as you kind of get out afield. And I would like for Renn and Saer to both make wisdom perception checks.
I'd stand out because of that big huge
14.
bump on my head, right?
Yeah, and the blueness of your head as well.
17.
Yeah. Look, it's
Okay.
black and blue.
Saer, you noticed the gnome from last night. Looks like he's also heading towards the tower.
Detective man.
Yes.
The blue gnome from the other night. Do you know him?
I don't know him, but I know of him. I questioned him in the city guard lockup. I think his name is Goblot or something.
Is
Nice.
there any reason why he would be here now?
Gilbert, go ahead and make a perception check as well.
All right.
May I answer?
Yeah,
Or
answer
do you
away.
want to wait? I honestly don't know. What I do know is that he seemed pretty confident that he wouldn't be held for the crimes that we thought he was committing, helping someone escape.
Gilbert, you're being watched as you pull your stuff off of the cable car and get ready to transport yourself by foot to the tower. You notice that there is an elf and blonde woman standing just a ways away, and they seem to be looking at you and talking probably about you.
He seemed like an arrogant little fellow, to be honest.
He's standing right there.
I would whisper.
He's looking at us right now.
Yeah. See?
He can
He's
read
a strange one,
You
isn't
know what
he?
you say.
So, so I guess if I'm close enough to see them, what I would probably do is walk off and try to make it look like they don't know I know they're there, and then kind of walk toward them and then kind of bump into them.
Okay,
not physically bump into them, but run into their general direction.
Go ahead and make a deception check for me, or a stealth check, both with either of one of those being with charisma.
And just as a reminder, neither one of us actually were involved in attacking Gilbert, right? It was the others. It was Yenlorin and Valette. Is that right?
You were the one that he actually spotted of the two of you that were hiding in the bushes when he did look in the bushes, because I remember Yenlorin rolled better than you. And
Right.
then Saer is basically was present twice. He definitely saw her.
Right, but we're not the ones that actually attacked him.
Correct. Yeah, no, it was
It was the other two.
it was certainly the guy, the patchwork coat. But you were the one who arrested him, and then also questioned
Yes.
him in the jail.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that.
Fair.
Yeah, John, also, really quickly, did we actually notice him looking at us there?
So he just actually rolled really well. So no, he you don't know if he spotted you. It looks like he's definitely going on about his business, and it looks like he's taking kind of a more thorough route. You do notice that there are carriages available, Gilbert, for the nobles to cross the big bridges that lead up to the tower, and they do offer you courtesy ride as you are a noble or an attendant of one.
Yeah, being a noble has its privileges. So, are they close enough that I could turn around and see them, not too far off?
Once you get on the carriage, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, because what I'd like to do is say, oh, wow, fancy meeting you here. Would you like to take a carriage ride?
I do not take handouts.
What about you?
Renn would say absolutely.
Oh, all right. I'll talk with you later then.
See you
What was
later.
your name again? I'm talking to the woman. What was your name again?
I didn't give it to you in first place.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm Gilbert. And I didn't have a very good night last night, considering I was unlawfully locked.
You all
up.
seated? The carriage guy says.
Yeah. I was like, so then we'd get. So I'll talk. I do have some information for you. It was interesting. I'd like to talk to you later if you don't mind.
Does he have information for me?
Make an insight. Hold on, I got you on this one.
Aha, you won't know.
You think he's telling the truth in that? He has information, and he said for you.
We shall see.
It also
Okay, well-
it also seems like he might be, more genuine about that than he was trying to sound. Like it was trying to think of a good term. It was a cunning. My brain is absolutely fried. He's trying to trick you by saying the thing he actually means.
Right. Okay.
All right. So then I would guess I'd get up on a carriage ride with the detective.
Anything you guys want to talk about on the way to the across the bridge?
I'd
So
like
it-
to ask about him a little bit first. Say, I'd like to know a little bit about you.
Sure. So it seems like you made it out of the lockup without much problems. You must have very powerful friends.
Well, sometimes that's the way it goes. I have friends. I'm sure you have some friends too.
I do. So my friends are generally in the city guard where I worked for many years.
Oh, okay. So you're, this is like a career for you.
That's right. Working
Excellent.
people, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You know,
Somebody's
you
got to
need-
do it.
Yeah, you need everybody to pitch in for things to work. So
Right.
the question I have for you is, and your name is Renn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I picked that up the other night.
Very perceptive.
Yeah, thank you. But and I'm Gilbert, and I'm Gilbert Kirgozler. I don't think we were properly introduced, and I'd shake his
Okay.
hand.
I would shake his hand, sure.
All right. And yeah, like I figure after that really strange meeting last night, I thought as I ran India, maybe it's fate. I should get to know you a little bit better.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. I'm interested to know more about you as well. I'm interested to know especially what exactly was going on out there. Why were you helping to arrange the escape of several nobles?
Oh, wow.
Almost as if fate were stepping in. Your carriage passes another carriage, and on the back of this open carriage you see green and black armor, greenish eyes staring out from the full plate face mask, and you
Holy
see
shit.
that the Margrave is exiting out of the tower on carriage. Cut from your scene back to Yenlorin. He says his name, slides the papers out, and asks you a question, starting immediately with the first. But before I get to that question, can you go ahead and make me either a Wisdom Arcana or Intelligence Arcana check? Okay. He definitely cast a spell, but you don't know what spell he cast. The thing you're noticing, though, is that everything outside of the chamber that you were overhearing, walking, talking, outside in the courtrooms, absolutely quiet.
Okay.
He says, "Did you kill Vrazig the Magier, or his copy?"
Not to my knowledge. Or at least not on purpose. I may have killed him with laughter. Man, very funny.
Okay, to be sure, I get that you're trying to be humorous, and that's fine. I understand. I just don't know if you understand the gravity of the situation. So I'm going to ask again, but this time maybe without the witty attempt at banter. I mean, it would be appreciated if I had alcohol in me, but right now, I'm sorry, I'm focused on the task. So you could have potentially killed him, or is that just hyperbolic?
'Twas... this word... hyperbolic? I don't... It is not true. I not kill man.
Okay.
Man die for other reasons, I'm sure. Not mine.
Fair enough. So, second question. How long have you been working alongside Enforcer Agent 87, also known as Valette Glean?
I have met man two times before last evening, purely to set up encounter. This man do not know.
Just this mission specifically. All right, noted. And
Accurate.
question number 3, you do not have full licenseship in civilian status. You have licenseship from Jernaris, Yenlorin, so you are technically not affiliated with the Conglomerate. You are acting as a specialist, a hired-on assistant. Is that accurate?
Correct.
One moment. He stands up, shuts his papers, puts them into a side bag he has, a nice leather bag he's got that he puts over his shoulder as he gets up. He walks over to the door. As he's doing so, he snaps his fingers, and you start to hear the hustle and bustle of outside again. And he opens up the door, and he says, "Attendant, Legate." You hear the woman that you passed last night, who was at the front counter. They have a whispered conversation. She nods her head, looks into the room, and says, "You're free to go."
Fantastic.
And he looks to you and he says, "If you ever run into the man you saw me with earlier today, the gentleman in the green armor, just make sure he knows that if he ever has any necessary objectives, that Lysat family will stand at his side." He shakes your hand if you are willing, and then he leaves.
I do.
The woman kind of looks to you and says, "Have a great rest of your day, but please do leave the tower."
And leaving is this way?
She
And starts walking whatever way. I'm assuming he walks the wrong way. She points him in the right way, and he leaves.
She starts to walk kind of with you, and then you hear a, "Legate, attend!" And then you turn around and see that there's a Conglomerate operative kind of walking over to you, and he says, "Apologies, Legate. I do have business with this individual. If I can go ahead and take him, please." She looks to him. "These are on the orders of the new Magier." And she kind of, "What is the new Magier's name?" And he kind of leans forward and whispers something. You can make a wisdom perception check to try and gauge what she was whispered, but if not, that's fine too.
That'd be a 6, my friend.
You don't know what he said. You think it might have started with a K. She kind of looks at him surprised and says, "Of course, operative. He's now a guest, so he is free to." And he says, "No, he's not. He's still detained." And he looks over his shoulder towards the lawyer, and the lawyer's kind of looking at this happening. He looks like he's ready to go, and he kind of looks surprised. The operative kind of looks over at the lawyer, and kind of raises his eyebrows, like, "Are you going to contest me?" kind of thing. And the lawyer kind of pulls out this device and starts speaking into it. All right. Brox and the husbando, you guys make it to the bridge, and you can still kind of see that the carriage is kind of trekking off. You saw them get onto it and have followed them up to this point. A carriage starts to pass you by. You see a man completely covered in full plate armor, greenish in color, kind of raise this device to him and starts speaking into it and kind of rides off. Not really noticeable. The armor was definitely noticeable, though. And the husband kind of continues trekking on after you. You guys continue to catch up with Saer and Renn. And unbeknownst to you, but Gilbert as well. Valette, nobody comes for you. It's pretty quiet in your room. And Yenlorin, this individual is seeming to kind of leading you back towards where you remember the dungeon being.
You talk about me?
Yep.
Yes.
This. Correct me, lady, if I new to this area, but does magistrate not have highest power in land?
You see that he's not really paying attention to you. He's kind of looking around. And he heads back into the room that you got sealed in right before the elevator. There's an individual there.
I'm talking to the woman next to me who's still with us,
Oh, no.
asking her if she... Because before... I'm assuming I have a second before she walks away, leaving me alone with this guy. Hey, you lady who was with me and was trying to leave me out the door, am I wrong that the magistrate is the highest authority, or is the conglomerate a higher authority than the magistrate? That's who I'm trying to say before she leaves.
The legate looks to you and says, the Margrave is a judge. He is not an enforcer of the law. He is an executioner of the law. That's why I suppose they call him the Bloody Judge. This operative is detaining you just for further questioning. I believe the Magier has further questions, the new Magier. And the operative nods his head and looks to you and looks at you kind of annoyed and says, "Come on, this way."
Meh. I'll follow him. I don't know enough not to.
Gilbert, Saer, and Renn, you're entering the hall just after Yenlorin stalled for a couple of seconds and is being led off towards the back. You can see that the operative is kind of pressing him to keep up with him.
I will also be going slowly and trying to communicate with the operative, just and what is your name, young Sibi? Just being friendly, good old...
The first instance of that, he turns and he looks you dead in the eyes. For some reason, the eyes seem familiar to you. The person doesn't, but his eyes seem familiar to you, and he says, "Come with me, please." And he turns and walks towards the dungeon.
I guess I keep going. I'm a little pissed off you want to have small talk with me, but I'm not gonna fight the guy.
Okay, but do you move quicker, or are you still trying to stall?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'll move quicker.
Okay, so you guys would basically be getting there just as they are exiting the chamber. You see that the legate is there, and a very annoyed-looking man spitting into, kind of yelling into, defensively yelling into a communication device.
Who's seeing that? Is that us or Yenlorin?
This would be Saer, Gilbert, and Renn. You have entered into the main chamber.
I want to try to pick up what's being said on the other end, on that communicator.
They just continue to detain him, my lord. If you wish to return and make your presence known, but it sounds like there's a new Magier and they have superseded your ruling, and also the information we were able to gather. They say they have other information. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
So
then
just to say, go ahead.
I was just saying I would look over to you two because he said like I heard that. I don't know if the rest of you guys heard that. Did the rest of them hear that?
No.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I was looking for someone official to talk to because I want to ask about seeing Isidore.
The legate.
Yeah.
So
I would probably.
I would tell Renn then what I heard.
Okay, as you guys are kind of approaching, the legate kind of looks to you as you're about to ask a question and says, Renn Keeneyes, thank you for making sure that you attended your appointment. You are no longer needed. All of the charges that would have been held against you have been tossed out, as they recognize that you are a member of the Constabulary. I believe you have the Judge Adrian Vaticus to thank for the swiftness in your judgment. You're free to go. Thank you for arriving at court well on time. And then she looks to you and says, can I help you, milady?
Yes, I am here to see Isidore Pendergrass. I believe he was brought here the other day.
Renegade mages are not given visiting rights. They can only be spoken to either by a magistrate or a member of the constabulary.
This is not about the visiting right.
Are you a member of the constabulary or a magistrate? Okay, while that hangs there, Brox, you and the husband kind of are entering into the...
But is it okay if I just sort of interrupt for a second?
Sure.
So, like, when I'm told that I'm no longer needed, obviously Renn's going to feel relieved, but at the same time, isn't that like something strange that would be not normal operating procedure?
It sounds like the Margrave was able to kind of persuade your case outside of court.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess I would just want to sort of pay attention to this person, see if I can glean any information from him.
Okay. So it sounds like what's needed, though, from this current blockade of what is allowed and what isn't. Saer asked to speak to the prisoner, the renegade mage from last night, and she said, "You're not a cop."
Right, yeah. And I was going to say, I was trying to remember what it was that the Undaunted had mentioned to me, but I was going to say, the ones who it was that brought him in, they said that I could come talk to them and hopefully get the chance to talk to Isidore.
One moment. Operative! She yells over to the far side of the room. You see the shadows of them leaving. But then, as you're kind of exiting, Yenlorin, the operative with you, says, "Hold for 1 second. Stay here. I will return." He turns and walks back into the hall. "Yes, Legate?" As he approaches. "What is it?" And she looks to him. "It is my understanding that you would be, of course, interested of any associates that might arise of the enforcer that..." He kind of raises his hand. "Non-publics, don't speak of it." "Why?" And he looks to... He's looking at Saer kind of noticeably.
Okay, I've got a question. Do I have any idea of what's going on here now?
Make an insight check with wisdom. Actually, me roll.
Okay, fine.
Yes, painfully so.
Right.
And you do see your husband.
Associate of him.
Okay, you do see your husband and the dwarf that your house guest just enter into the hall, kind of looking over at you. He gives you one of those, "Hey, honey," kind of doesn't know what's going on, like situations. But you say that, and the operative says, "You're not an associate of his. Fine." And this is the member of the watch that was released by order of the Margrave, correct? And she looks at him. Yes. He kind of looks down at his hands and kind of looks back to Renn. What precinct do you operate out of?
And he would name whatever city watch
Third
is
precinct.
normally associated.
Of Spellmouth, yep. And the operative kind of nods his head. Fair enough. If I have further questions for you, I will know where to find you. He turns and kind of just brusquely walks away. He looks like he is a bit more keen than his station kind of portrays. He does appear to be just wearing standard operative garb, but he's moving around like he owns the place.
Okay, so I did whisper to you.
No, I know.
Okay.
And do make one.
Do you make one? So is that
Yeah.
I just roll it outside? Just roll it normal?
Yeah, roll it normal.
Okay, so it's yeah. That's not good.
As you kind of are investigating him, he kind of looks to you, kind of turns back to you, and he says, "Actually, on second thought, come with me." And he kind of starts walking away from you. And he says, "Pick it up."
Like pick
Who are
up the
you talking-
pace.
Who's he,
Yeah.
who's he talking to?
Just Renn.
Renn is gonna motion to Saer to come with him.
The woman kind of looks to you and says, "If you're not a member of the constabulary, I cannot allow you to see the prisoner."
Okay. And then he'll follow himself then.
Okay. Once you get to like the middle of the room,
Wait, I'll try to follow.
Yep, and you're a bit slower than the two of them, but the operative kind of turns to you and kind of looks to you and says, "Whatever questions you have, whatever concerns you have, leave them as you walk out the door." And then he turns and walks back towards the back room.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, no, it doesn't say that. Well, Gilbert, you probably overhear like the last half of that, but it was mainly for Renn's ears.
That was for Renn. Okay. So we're following.
Do you stay where you were told to stay, Yenlorin?
I probably would have taken like a few steps just
To look out.
like pacing around, but like just stay. I'm in the same basic area he
Okay.
left me, but looking at something on the wall. And when he comes up and says, "Thank you for not moving," and Lauren says, "Well, technically I take 2 steps to right to look at wall better, but it's no big deal."
He
And then
kind of shrugs
we
and
move forward.
moves briskly towards where you got caught in the doors. Before we get to that part, Brox and Jack kind of enter into the place. So Gilbert, Saer, and Renn. Renn kind of, shocked for a second by just the brusqueness of this guy, kind of turns back towards the quote-unquote group.
So wait, I'm sorry. I thought Renn followed after this person.
And the guy turned and looked back at you, like when he got you to a quiet area, and basically
Okay.
said, "Stop investigating this. Leave this here," as you walk out the door.
God, okay, okay. Now I understand. Right. So he will go back to the others and say that whisper. There's something really, really strange happening here. I just don't know what's going on.
Duh.
It might be a little out of your jurisdiction, so that's why it's so, uncommon.
Not just.
I think it's more
not
than
just
that.
his jurisdiction, which is in question here.
Right. But he did say you could go back there and talk to him, right?
No, he said to leave.
I
He
thought
said
he
to
said.
leave.
I thought what he meant. Oh, when you.
Well, I'm the only one that heard it first of
Yeah,
all.
but you told us, right? I happened to be there. Like, I know you probably didn't really tell me, but I'm sitting there kind of like overhearing. I probably would have said, well, maybe it sounded to me when he said that he meant you can go there and question him, but you have to leave the, you can't do anything when you get out with the knowledge. But maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, Saer would also just sort of like, right now, just sort of like say, "You, Gilbert, stay here. You, Renn, come with me for a second."
Okay.
And
So-
then I'd probably bring Renn over to where I saw my husband and Brox.
Brox, yeah, you guys head over that direction. Gilbert, you're left aside. The legate kind of looks down to you and says, "Do you have a purpose here, my lord?"
I would like to speak to Isidore.
only the members of the constabulary or a magistrate could do so. If you have a writ from a law enforcement member or a high noble, I can certainly try and arrange for that. Do you have such a writ?
Actually, I think I left it in the court, so I will have to bring it by here at another day.
Not a problem. We'll be open quite late today because of acting business. That said, thank you so much. And as you kind of turn back around, you notice that the other group has now engaged. So Brox and Jack kind of meet up with you. Jack kind of looks to you. Not a huge fan of PDA, kind of just gives you like a nod. What are you doing here?
That's okay, neither same. They
What-
have man who knows something about me here.
He kind of looks to you and he says, something about you? Oh, and he kind of, yeah, okay. What do you plan to do about it?
I don't know. I tried to go and see him and possibly get the person who brought him in yesterday to vouch for me, but the way that they were acting, it was strange.
Well, what did they say you had? Can you just not see him? Does he not have visitation rights?
So he said.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, I don't know how they do things here in the tower. I know a bit about how law works, but if they're holding him without visitation rights, he did something real bad. The only way you're going to get in there is if you have someone from the law enforcement to get in there and see him.
I did, but when I brought him up, instead of getting him, they brought someone else, and it seemed to be implying that if I was associated with him, they might want questioning.
I'll leave the air open for just a couple more seconds, and I'm going to wait.
So, I don't know if this is what you're implying, but like Renn is obviously a law enforcement person, but he was told to get the fuck out.
By an operative who seems a bit sketchy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I could try again, but that's the only thing I could think of.
Okay. If you want to give it a go.
I would sort of mention that to Saer and say, well, I know we just met, but it seems like we're both caught up in something bigger than ourselves. I don't know what this is about, but maybe I can help you. Well, are you going to come with me or not? I think the idea is that you want to get in there, and I'm the only person that can do that for you, possibly.
I am suspicious of whether you can or cannot be helping at this moment, but
I question that too. We can just forget about the whole thing if you like.
I'm gonna walk. Can I walk up to him?
Yeah, you're walking past. You actually see you kind of caught a glimpse of him, and you definitely heard his handiwork, but you see the red-haired dwarf kind of standing towards the back of the group, kind of wallflowering the situation. But he seems to be looking at you. And he kind of just seems to be looking at everything. Very perceptive looking dwarf. But yeah.
All right, I'll wink at him. Not in a weird way. A cool way. A cool gnome way.
A cool gnome wink.
Like something like this. With finger guns.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
Exactly. And then I would go over to those guys. I want to walk by him and say, so Renn, are you going to be going in there? Because I would definitely like to accompany you, since you're my new best friend, right?
Oh, definitely. You know that I was told by one of the agents just to get out, right? I could try, but
He seemed to be trying to bullshit you, but that's just my, perspective.
And I will point out, too, that I'm going to ask Kevin. Andy kind of left you on a question before I cut away from you guys on the carriage ride over. And he asked you specifically what your connections were to Isidore. So my question to you is did you tell him everything, or did you withhold everything? Just let me know, and I'll basically catch him up.
Well, listen to this. I would have told him everything that I wanted to tell him, so that it seemed like I'm telling him everything. I'm not going to tell him like the 100% truth
Okay,
of
so
everything, but I'd give him enough story
Got
that
it.
It seems believable.
well, if you want me to be sympathetic to you, you're gonna have to tell me something.
So
Yeah,
basically,
I would tell him something.
basically what he told you is he didn't care about the renegade mages. He didn't care about this guy. He cared about him because he was a noble. He didn't know he was a renegade mage. And when he was in the situation, he didn't want to say no to the guy because, he's talking about renegade mages. And then you guys showed up and didn't really announce yourself very well. And then he got blasted and then run over by a horse. And that's how he remembers it, genuinely.
Right. I'm just a bureaucrat. I'm a court functionary.
He was told to meet up with a guy about some noble business, and then it turned south. And so he tried to sound, it's probably incriminating, but it certainly wasn't his true intention. He just didn't want to get shot or killed out in the park by himself with some guy. So yeah, he just plays it
So
off.
he'd say anything, basically.
Yeah, and
Well, no. Yeah. What I would tell you is that, just because I'm telling somebody I'm going to do something doesn't mean I'm going to. I, met up with this guy because I was told he might have some important information. But I will tell you one thing is I just didn't expect the law enforcement of this area to shoot a guy in the back when he's running away. That's what I didn't expect after I thought I had done nothing wrong. So that's the whole truth,
There's a life lesson in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Don't run.
What is that?
He's
Zach?
got different skin color than me. Shoot him in the back.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I thought of it. After it happened, I'm like, this is crazy.
you just don't know. I mean, like,
It was crazy.
It's a bit harsh. You just treated him like he wasn't even a gnome.
A human.
Well, he wasn't a human. He was a gnome. But anyways.
Yeah. A humanoid.
But anyway, so that's what I would have told you.
I'm going to go ahead. I just want to make sure. So, Brox, you see the situation going on. Saer's present. Husband and her have a very short conversation, which you kind of, listen to, but you're sure it's just something between them. Do you want to interject anywhere?
I would just say that I agree with Gilbert. That the guy was bullshitting it. I think he could get back to the city and Renn.
Okay. All right, cutscene, and we'll go to Yenlorin. You are, asking him questions along the way if you're talkative, but he just seems to be very pressed, and he comes back to a familiar door to you and knocks on it. Valette, you hear a knock on the door.
I go and I answer the door.
He looks at you and he says, "Prisoner, I do not have a writ, but I do have your co-conspirator. Come with me." It's the same operative from before.
Right.
He looks at you, Yenlorin, and he kind of looks at you like... And you kind of pick up that he's basically asking you with his eyes to just convince the Undaunted to come.
I know, and I'm conveying with my face that I'm not understanding his look. Like, dumb face that I just gave you now is face that Yenlorin responds with is just like...
He shakes his head and he looks back at you. Quickly.
Just
Please.
nice to make eye contact.
Fine. Even though this is odd, I shall accompany you to the dungeons.
Gather
with
your
all
things.
They have been gathered and are still here. Lead the way.
Let us go. As you guys are heading downstairs and heading back towards the dungeon way, you are passed by a couple of operatives who look familiar to you, Valette. They kind of look to you strangely, and the operative kind of nods his head, and then he makes a hand gesture, very strange-looking hand gesture, and the operatives kind of steer clear, like wide from you guys. You recognize that he's using kind of a hand cant that's kind of higher echelon, and some operatives are aware of it. You are aware that the hand gesture he gave to them was basically, stay the fuck away.
Oh, witch hunter!
You're not sure if it's hunter business. You certainly know it's higher than operative business.
Yeah.
And he leads you into that main chamber where there are doors. He kind of raises his hands up like this, and then kind of places them like this in front of the gentleman who's at the dungeon door, and he says, "Leave us." And the guy kind of, okay, and kind of walks out. The man walks over to the counter, shuts the doors, and looks at you two. Okay. Slams his hands together, and you see the glyphs on the walls that you didn't know were present, but might have been informed were present, that seem to be warding glyphs, kind of shimmer shine. We don't have very long. I'm going to ask you once, and you're only going to be granted that answer, or one answer. So my question to you is, will you come with me, or will you stay here to face more than likely execution? Quickly.
I look to Yenlorin.
We come!
Good. He looks to Valette.
If I leave, will I be serving the conglomerate?
I didn't
In
say
some
you could
greater
ask questions. Hurry up and answer the question, Valette. And something about the way he says Valette seems just like biting and familiar.
Is there any, like, can I recall any way that sounds familiar?
Go ahead and make an intelligence check.
Oh, please do well. I need this. Otherwise I'm going to do something stupid. Nope.
You're not
Hey,
sure.
you're gonna do something stupid.
You're not sure, but the way he said it seems calming. You don't know why. It just seems calming. The way it reminds you of something, it just seems familiar from a time you're not even certain of. You're not sure where you remember it from.
Oh, gosh.
It's so funny.
It's Tasha Yar.
Like, this is giving me vibes that he's not, his hand can't was definitely part of the conglomerate, like some high-ranking conglomerate thing. I just know exactly what it is.
Yeah, so you would have noticed the very first hand gesture he made was the "stay the fuck away from me" hand gesture, which and are basically instructed if anybody gives you that hand gesture, do just that. The second hand gesture is a gesture that's made for specifically only operatives of the Mage Year. It's different from Mage Year to Mage Year. The one that he just raised appears to be different than the one Vrazigue would have taught.
Okay. Based on that, he seems very high-ranking. I will trust him and follow.
So you say yes. Okay.
Yes.
Submit to authority,
He
bitch!
places his hand out to you and he says, "Place your hands on mine, please."
I do so.
Teleporting.
And the two of you vanish in purple light. All right, back to the main chamber. You guys are kind of present there, and you walk back up to the legate and ask her if you can see the prisoner, this time with the authority of Renn. And she says, technically your associates in detaining Isidore were seen as punished. I believe they were both just, at least one of them was escorted to the dungeons. I don't see it as a problem, but I will of course have to get it cleared. One moment. She walks over to a crystal ball on the table, on the desk. She places her hand on it and kind of mutters some things towards the ceiling, and then she kind of looks back to you and says, "The new Mage Year says it's fine. It should not pose a problem."
The new mage.
Oh shit.
All right. So she leads you out towards the dungeon. The door's locked, and you can kind of tell that there's something going on behind the doors. There's a faint purple light for just a moment, and the dungeon attendant is kind of standing there waiting outside diligently. The legate says, "What's going on?" The operative is detaining the two assassins. I was told to leave by order of the Magier. The legate nods. It'll be just a moment. The door opens, and when it does, you see that the operative is standing there, kind of walking away from the elevator door, the tube that I had mentioned last session, and kind of walks towards the legate. They're detained. Legate, make sure it's noted and scheduled for the Mage Year. Of course, by order of the Mage Year, if anyone besides the Mage Year asks for them to be raised up out of the catacombs, they are in the blackest cells, so I will definitely require that they are allowed. It'll be either me or the Mage Year is what I'm trying to say. He kind of shrugs and just walks past everyone. The legate nods. It shall be done. And she walks into the chamber and looks to the dungeon guy who's kind of now taking back to his position. "How can I help you, legate?" She says, "Oh, just bring me Isidore, please, the prisoner from last night before the..." And he kind of nods that, of course, kind of starts scrolling around on the table, and you can see that there are a series of crystal balls on the table. And it kind of looks like he's moving them around to specific lighting colorations, and then he kind of places his hand in the middle of them all once they're a specific designation, and you hear kind of rumblings from that tube. After about a 5-minute wait, it kind of fills up with a person, and he kind of steps out of the tube, looking at you. It is Isidore from last night. Isidore Pendergraph. He is still wearing his regal-looking robes, but it looks like all kind of metal has been removed from it. And his sword, you don't even know if it was a real thing. It kind of vanished after it left his hand, but he appears to be shackled in front of him, and the shackles that he's wearing appear to have markings, arcane markings about them.
So Renn would kind of turn to Saer and, as if to say that, well, this is what you wanted, right? Go ahead.
The legate looks to you. Will this be a private inquiry, or should we leave?
This is private, yeah.
Private.
Okay. Dungeon Master, come. And she walks with him. The guy kind of walks past you guys, kind of brushes his hair back, and strokes his sweet mustache, and walks past you. The door closes behind you.
Matt?
All right, so, right, my show.
You again, he says.
Yeah. Yes.
Couldn't get enough of me. Still interested in selling me that powder? Real quick question.
Not of any
Who all is with you right now? Is it all four of you, or did you tell Gilbert to stay back? Did you tell Brox to stay back?
I would have told Gilbert to stay back.
So Gilbert and Brox are still out in the hall with Jack.
What?
It's just you and
I'm
Renn.
gonna be like, what? What is this? Do you have a thing against gnomes?
It's just you, the dwarf, and the big man out there in the hall.
All right, fine. I want to
I
talk
have
to
a
him.
thing against blue people. I don't like Smurfs.
Jeff
You
Blue
don't like
Man.
Smurfs. You're Gargamel.
Jeff
That's your real
Gold
name.
Blue Man Group.
Yeah, nice.
Anyway,
Right.
he's
Yeah,
standing
so
there before
The
you.
whole like, are you reconsidering selling me? Yeah.
Yeah, powder.
No, I do not reconsider my sales.
So what's
I'm
this?
more interested in some of the company that you were keeping.
Are you talking about the cultists?
Yes.
He kind of looks over to the elf and kind of looks back to you. I mean, if you want to talk about it, I don't mind. Are you wanting to come back?
I'm sorry, can you say that last part again?
He says, are you wanting to come back? To her.
Yeah. That part of my life is dead and buried.
Well, they told me that you, of course, were created to serve. Don't you feel it? I mean, I know you feel it. You showed me it. I saw you draw your hand across the blade. I saw what it did to the edge.
I was created to help people, to protect,
No, you weren't.
not to be an enforcer.
No, you weren't created for any of that. You were created to become an assassin. You know what your purpose was.
What was the business that you had with them? Why are they here?
So, the renegades I had mentioned to the gnome before I was so rudely interrupted were friends of the order, and, well, we're currently under high scrutiny from the Magier. So much so that we pulled some strings to have him dealt with. Yeah, I've already told the new Magier all about it, so no sense in thinking that you're learning something new, but the Magier is not dead.
I suspect from the fact you are telling me this that you don't think that this information will be of any use to me in a short time.
I mean to say, when I say the Magier is not dead, I say that there's no stopping the conglomerate. No matter what the idealists do, there will always be someone on that damned seat. There will always be people in this damned tower, and there will always be the oppression of their law on our ways. And when they find out what you are, when they find out what you are, you better settle up and make sure your husband's ready to visit the outside of a tower and pray to whatever god you've found that has steered you away from Durin. And you can hope that God listens. But I'll tell you now, lass, that God won't listen. Because gods don't rule this place. Man does.
Fine.
Renn would say, is it the idealists who were behind the assassination?
We didn't send an assassin, no. We just made sure certain parties were made aware of Razik's practices. I think the problem sorted itself out.
You have more questions for him?
No, I'm thoroughly confused.
Isidore kind of looks to you and says, I'm really surprised that the new Magier was willing to allow you to speak to me. I didn't think anyone was going to pull me up out of that black cell for quite some time. Fortunate, I guess.
Well, you can expect when you go back, it will be a while before you are pulled out of that dark hole. I
Yep.
hope you are up there.
You're probably right. Brox and Saer, or not, Brox and Gilbert, sorry. As you guys are kind of out and about, you are kind of in the hall. Jack is still kind of, making small talk. Mostly, at this point, probably just talking to himself, just to hear the sound of his own voice, because he is obviously nervous. But Gilbert looks pissed. Like he wanted to go in, and he was basically shafted at the last second.
Actually, I was thinking Brox and I would be out there doing breakdancing and stuff. It would be
High
I could be
fiving.
on my head and he could be spinning me.
Nice.
Doing some crazy stuff.
But yeah, Jack definitely seems very nervous. Gilbert, besides the penchant for wanting to breakdance, does seem a bit upset that he wasn't allowed in.
Yeah, but I'm figuring I'm going to go in after her. That's what I'm figuring.
Sure.
That's what I would say to Brox. I'd be like, I guess we're going in later.
Whatever business she's caught up in is not good. They don't take lightly to the idea of renegade mages.
Yeah, you are right.
Jack kind of looks down at Brox and kind of he looks even more nervous and kind of looks back to the door and just starts just like whatever he left off before you guys started saying what you were saying.
Hey, Jax. Hey, Jax.
Just Jack.
I'm Gilbert, by the way. I'd shake his hand if he'd shake mine.
He shakes your hand.
I'd be like, so why would your so I guess is Saer your wife?
Yeah, Sarah's my wife.
Why would she want to go in there and talk to this guy Isidore? He's a noble, so there's that. But he's apparently being charged with crimes against the Conglomerate. Unlicensed magic user type stuff. Why would she want to talk to that guy?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It's none of your fucking business, you little runt.
Holy shit! You're a very rude person.
Oh, wow.
I guess Sarah's a very lucky woman.
He kind of looks at you like confused by what you replied with, and he goes, I don't know how to take that. Was that a compliment, or he kind of shakes his head, nobles, and kind of like walks over to Brox and just...
Exactly.
Don't fall
That's
for
what
it.
it was.
It's a complisalt. It's a complisalt.
The combo
Yes, exactly.
I actually laugh out loud with that exchange and then go back to straight face.
As you guys are kind of sitting there talking, a couple of other people enter into the chamber. You notice one of them is appears to be someone of importance in kind of stately looking robes, and he kind of starts making his way over to the door where you saw the guy on the communication device. He kind of walks over to him, and they kind of meet and start talking amongst each other. And then you see another member, another party enter into the chamber, and this person, to Brox and Gilbert and to Saer especially, or no, you're not there. Sorry, to Jack especially, seems to kind of just starkly kind of contrast against the room. She appears to be wearing kind of flowery looking robes that are kind of tightly cinched up and of a very Eastern style. Looks like they're from Saer. Her hair is done up solid jet black, and there are pins in her hair. Her face is covered with white makeup, and she appears to be favoring one arm like it's either broken or possibly lost, as her kimono's sleeve is kind of up towards her chest. She has pair of swords at her side, and she starts to walk towards the dungeon area. The legate walks over to her. When she does, the woman kind of looks at her, and as you're kind of looking at her too, her eyes look hollow, like a different and very strange coloration to them, green and yellow, very unnatural. And she just keeps walking, doesn't say anything, and heads towards the dungeon. It looks like the legate is absolutely silenced and stopped in her tracks just by the look of the woman.
What would I be able to, like, just from your description, I would think that it would look like she's like out to go do something bad. You know what I mean? If she's like,
she looks like she's ready for
Terminator
business. Yeah.
That's our cue, Gilbert.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Okay.
I'd give a high five to.
You guys follow in the hallway behind her. Jack is kind of like slowly towards the back. Brock's right in front of him, and well, Gilbert's actually really fast despite his size. You see her kind of move up to the door, and the dungeon master is kind of standing there looking at her and kind of stroking his goatee, looking very handsome. Just so handsome, this dungeon master. Just the most handsome.
Okay.
I want to tell Jack
All
to
right,
stay
all right.
back.
So he looks a lot like
Okay.
you, is what you're saying.
That's what I was hinting at, yeah.
Yeah, subtle.
Subtle.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key to a good
Subtlety.
story, especially a mystery.
You're a beautiful man, John.
The door opens in front of her after Renn asked, do you have any other questions? Or Saer asked Renn if he had questions. There were no questions. Isidor's standing there. It looks like he's waiting for a return back into the dungeons. But you see the door open. Renn, you don't recognize this woman. She doesn't appear familiar to you. And Saer, this woman doesn't look familiar to you at all either. And she looks to the dungeon master and she says, I wish for time alone with the prisoner. See these people out. And she walks into the room.
I believe
Matt, make a history check.
history. I get to
Intelligence,
add one
intelligence.
to it.
Intelligence or wisdom, your choice.
Ooh, okay.
Could I help?
No.
17.
Okay. So you are a member of, or former member of Balian's Watch, which is a mercenary company that operates kind of towards the eastern side. And you've heard rumors and tales of all different types of heroes and standout people from the lands of Saer. One of the most notable is the family of Kenji, which are master duelists that travel across the land, doing great deeds with their swords and also just challenging anybody who has some note to their swordsmanship or skill. That's besides the current point. The other story you've heard of is a wraith of a woman who's said to operate on mysterious terms in her own paths, but she appears to be basically the boogeyman or boogie woman rather, for people on the Saer border. Her name is Baiken, Baikeen. And that's the only name that you were granted for her, but you are told that she's basically a master killer. And everything you know about her, this woman before you appears to be her. Specifically the sword at her side.
Okay, good to know.
The dungeon master kind of leans in and says, sorry guys, I'm going to have to ask you to come out. She has time for the prisoner now. And she looks back to you and says, close the door. Hurry up. Does anybody try and stay behind or enter in?
I'm leaving. I got what I needed.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I think I would be like, excuse me.
Are you kind of hanging in the wings or trying to talk to the dungeon master or the woman?
I think I would try to talk. I wouldn't want to be real close to the woman. She looks real deadly. So I'd rather be like 10 feet away and be like, Excuse me, by what authority are you visiting this?
So, are you in the room or
Cruiser.
outside of it?
I want to be outside of that room.
Okay.
That's a room of death.
The door starts.
Kill everything in there.
The door starts to descend as you're kind of standing there and asking that question, but it seems to kind of roll off her back like water would off the back of a duck. If anybody else is close to the door when this is happening, you see what's basically going to unfold. She says, Isidore Pendergraph, by right, you are sentenced to death. And as she says that, a snake-like chain exits out of her sleeve and just sweeps across the room. The door shuts as you watch all of the chains just shackle around the guy. And you hear nothing. You see the glyphs light up on the door, and you just hear nothing. See nothing. Just that last moment of the serpentine claw snagging around him and just...
Say, this is typical Magier stuff from what I've seen.
The Dungeon Master looks to you and says, based on what was said, I'm going to have to ask you to clear the halls. Please, exit the halls, please. The legate, not too far away, is kind of walking over that direction. Please, come with us. We have to see you out of the tower. Please, come with us.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
as I said, I was leaving.
Jack-
I don't have anything else.
As you guys are exiting out the hall, Jack kind of moves close to Saer and says, I know you're going to tell me later, okay? I just know that, okay? And he kind of just looks at you like really nervous, and he's like, is it okay? It's not it, is it? Is it it? And he kind of shakes his head. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. And as you're kind of walking, away, Gilbert, you're kind of, moving into the group and kind of like trying to get yourself acclimated and be a part of the group. Brox, you're kind of tailing behind Jack as they're kind of, moving. Renn, you're kind of moving towards the door.
Hey, can I grab a guard, especially if it's an important-looking guard or person around there? I just want to kind of say, hey, what's going on with those two, that Agent 87 and his cohort?
The legate says, please exit the hall. Please exit the
I
hall.
want to know if you heard anything about those
Please
guys.
exit the hall. I don't want to have to start the klaxon. Please exit the hall. And as you're exiting the hall, you see at the door, almost as if this person was waiting for you, is the operative that ran into you and also came out of the dungeon as you were entering into it. Kind of looks to Renn and kind of like moves away from you guys. Looks like he's kind of heading towards the outside of the tower, and he bumps into Renn. Almost as if he's trying to move through your group and kind of stumbles into you. But you absolutely quickly recognize, Renn, that it was not subtle, and he bumped you on purpose, and it seems he put something in your pocket and just kind of walks away. The Conglomerate operatives inside are kind of moving out towards the doors and are closing the doors behind them.
Now, who is this that dropped it in?
The operative who initially told you to get the hell out of here.
Okay.
Oh, that guy.
All right. Cut scene. Yep. The purple light fades from your eyes, you guys, and you start to see the normal light. And you're in a dark room that has one main exit out of it, and the ground seems to be just covered with runes. Standing in front of you is a person in a kind of blackish colored robe, and his hood is drawn over his head, and he's kind of lowered down so you can't see anything more than just like his chin. He kind of comes closer to you, and the glyphs start to kind of light up a bit, and then kind of pulse back, quiet down, and then light up again. It seems like the magic that's in them is kind of pulsing and kind of slowly waning. Like a powerful magic was just activated, and it's kind of still residual. The man before you then kind of reaches up, grabs the top or the portion of his hood, and raises it back. Yenlorin, the man does not look familiar to you at all, but Valette looks absolutely familiar to you. The man standing before you is none other than Brazig, the Magier of the High Tower.
I immediately sort of get down on one knee, do my salute, and bow my head.
Rise. That's not what this organization's about. Get up.
Yes, Master Renn. How can I be of service?
Well, that's not why I brought you here. I brought you here to spare you. Not to serve me any longer. know this. The Conglomerate, for a time, has had its reasons for operating in the city. And those reasons are coming to bear very quickly. Agents are moving, and unfortunately agents have already interceded in the Conglomerate in the city. I was set to be removed. Fortunately for me, I have contingencies. Contingencies I never made public or known to the organization.
So is he basically saying that the Conglomerate is a dirty, corrupt business and a lot of people have infiltrated the ranks to then move it towards nefarious purposes?
He's saying that the Conglomerate in Brox'gar is probably circumspect.
Okay.
Feels more like a Hydra and Shield type situation.
Mm-hmm. What can I do to ferret out this cancer?
Cancer. We have cancer now?
I'll tell you this. Under all pretenses, you're dead. He looks over to Yenlorin. And so are you. Unless the new Magier specifically asks for 2 political criminals who were put into the black cells to make sure no one asks questions about my demise. I don't find that likely, by the way. You're not supposed to be seen.
What is my charge then?
What are you going to do? Live. I don't care what you do. I'm just telling you I've given you a chance to live. That's all I'm telling you. You just have to make sure no one knows who you are. It should not be a problem for you. In fact, it wasn't a problem for the person they killed either. And unfortunately, I'll never have the ability to groom you to what I wanted you to be.
Valette has a very confused look because, like, it's orders need orders.
No, sure. But after what he just said, your insight it makes you realize that the person you watched die last night wasn't him, obviously, but was someone who was put into his seat to act as a double. And basically, based on what he just said, you were being groomed to do exactly the same thing.
Oh! I was gonna die for him one day.
Right.
Potentially.
Oh, that's too funny. Where would you suggest I go to live?
Oh,
The Conglomerate is all I've known for so long.
I don't know. And I hate to say this, but I genuinely don't care. And here's why I say that. Because I can't leave the city. I can't leave these sewers. This is where I live now. This is where I'm stuck. And besides being able to use the powers that I recall from the tower that are not my own, such as, he kind of gestures towards the glyph on the ground, then if I use any of my abilities, I will be seen and I will be sought out. So, this is where I will stay until I can find out a means of escaping. You could potentially get message to allies in other cities, but I don't think that will be an easy process at all.
Give me a list of names and what cities, and I shall attempt this.
This whole time he's talking, by the way, Yenlorin is looking at him like a sad puppy who doesn't know how to motivate himself. It's like, why can't you don't have any internal drive? Like, just go be another person. Why are you such a bitch? Like,
so actually make an intelligence arcana check, because you're thinking about what he's saying.
Me?
No, Yenlorin.
Okay.
double ones.
Okay, so yeah, you would think exactly the way you're thinking. You aren't sure why he doesn't just use his magic to escape.
Oh, it's not that. I'm saying, why can't he just, like, go off and do something? Why is he begging for a purpose from this guy? Like, this guy just...
Valette,
Yeah, Valette, sorry. I don't give a shit about Vrasig. I know exactly why he can't leave. I'm sure he's going to be found, and they have markers all over the city tracking his specific arcane signature. Doesn't really matter.
Vrasig
but
kind of looks.
I'm curious about Valette and why Valette needs another person's direct order to operate as a person.
I get you.
Like, he has no agency, and that's sad.
Vrasig looks to Yenlorin and says, "You are not being tailed or tracked. You are a licensed magic user. You are someone who can operate in the city without problem. I don't know what your motivations are. I do know you want to rise higher in the conglomerate, but I tell you this. If you're going to do it in this city, you're going to need to root out the corruption that's present already. Will you do me a favor? In whatever efforts you go through," he looks to Valette, "she will guard you. She will defend you. But I need to know that your motives are true. Do you wish to seek out the conglomerate and its ails and bring it down from the inside if necessary?"
This not my first language. Words confuse me. This mean you want me take down conglomerate from inside like insurgents, or take insurgents down from inside conglomerate? He
supersedes and interjects in a perfect Janaran accent and language, and says exactly what he just said to you, as if it was his native tongue. And he says it in a fashion that makes you think exactly what you initially thought. Take down the conglomerate here. Period.
This I can do.
Good. Valette, your new orders are to follow Yenlorin to your death, or to the success of his cause. If Yenlorin is dead, you will do what you can to continue that cause, and to make sure that there are no questions as to what that cause is. The High Tower must fall.
Understood.
It's the only way to ensure that there is no corruption is to rebuild. I will remain here. I will do what I can to remain available. But if I find a means of getting out of this city, I'm going to take it.
Understood.
Good luck.
With that, I turn to Yenlorin. I'm like, Master Yenlorin, would you like a body double? Or how would you like me to appear?
Cutscene.
Wow, so cool.
Yes, my own bitch boy. So many ideas.
As you guys are heading out onto the bridge, you did feel a bump and a strange dropping of something on your person, and then the operative walked away. Gilbert, you can see that the noble carriage is kind of, obviously making itself known that you can take it if you'd like back across the bridge.
Anybody need a ride?
Yeah, Renn would want the ride, sure.
All right, cool.
Jack,
I told you about myself, but you didn't tell me about yourself. So
Jack seems to be kind of leaning towards taking the carriage, and Saer, you know that one of the main reasons that Jack actually retired, his upper body is just toned out. He's ready to kill on a moment's notice, but he was hamstrung in one of the last contests and only spared from bleeding out and dying by your touch. So he's still wounded from that and doesn't move quite as quickly, and pains after long amounts of time walking. Standing still he can do just fine, but if he's forced to kind of walk and jostle, his ankle starts to, and his calf mess up.
Yeah, no, I don't like it, but for his sake, I will accept the
Carriage ride.
Gnome's offer. Okay,
so you all board the carriage. I'm going to just go from Andy and on. Andy, what are you doing when you get in the carriage and start to ride off?
I'm gonna surreptitiously read whatever was it a note that was put in my pocket?
Nope.
Let's
You
take a look at it.
pull it out, and it appears to be a strange kind of gemstone. Greenish
Is
in
it
color.
green?
And it appears to have, as you look at it, it appears to have like a, you know how a star sapphire looks?
Mm-hmm.
It has like a star pattern in it. Make a either intelligence investigation or intelligence perception.
Yeah. 19.
Nice.
The thing you notice very strange about this is as you move the orb, the star sapphire seems to point in the same direction. It seems to be pointing in the exact same direction no matter how you turn the gemstone.
And what direction is that?
It seems to be pointing off across the bridge a ways into the city.
So do I know whether that's north, south, east, or west, or?
It doesn't appear to be a cardinal direction.
Okay.
All
That's
right.
what I do.
Andy, cool. Joe Orbic, anything you want to interject before these? I know I can see Kevin chomping at the bit. He could probably pull this carriage. Do you have anything you want to interject before he starts going? Okay. Kevin, what do you want to talk about? You do see, I mean, everybody can see you guys are in the same carriage. Renn is playing with some sort of gemstone.
All right, I'd say, Renn, what do you got there? Andy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, I said, Renn, what do you got there?
Oh, I
See,
wouldn't.
look at your gem.
I wanted to have to look at it in a way that nobody else saw it.
Okay.
Okay, hold on a second.
But Gilbert's sitting on your lap.
Gilbert is sitting across from you, and you're kind of keeping it, trying to keep it tucked there. And
Yeah.
Gilbert, being as perceptive as he is, says, "Hey, Renn, what do you got there?"
Yeah,
Oh,
what there?
nothing much. Nothing much. Just a little trinket.
Ah, okay. Well, interesting. How about I tell you something and you tell me what that is? And if you promise to do that, I'll tell you my thing first.
Raising intonation.
How about that?
You're very persuasive.
Okay, so I would pull out of my pocket this green stone, or is it a gem or a stone? It's a green gemstone, let's just say.
What are you talking about?
And the sending stone to
Oh,
Isidore.
the one that you got from Isidore, right?
Yeah,
It's
I
different.
I would say, I got this from Isidore, and I don't think it's gonna ever get a response now. And then I'm going to try it and say, "Hello, Isidore," see if he answers. Because we saw him on the other side of the door with that lady, and I bet you tore him apart.
No response.
No response.
Make an Arcana
Right.
check, Gilbert.
Sure.
Intelligence
That
Arcana.
is- Okay, intelligence Arcana. Let's see what that does. I'm not good at Arcana.
Sure.
We will see. Oh, wait a minute. Did it?
Overhearing their discussion and seeing Andy show it to Kevin, do I recognize what the trinket is?
Make a history. Make a wisdom history check with double your proficiency.
So it's what Kevin shows to Andy, not what Andy shows to Kevin, right?
I showed you mine. Now you show me yours.
I
I
haven't
think
yet.
I think Joe is focusing mainly on. Are you trying to get Andy's stone or Kevin's?
Yeah, well, when Kevin, he said, "What do you have there?" And you said, "Oh, just a little thing."
Okay.
I assumed you had it out.
Well, when he pulls out that stone, you recognize it pretty immediately. It's something that's kind of common in dwarven holds, in like dwarven cities. Not so much here on the surface. You would note that the stone in question is a sending stone, the one that Gilbert has, the green stone. Sending stones are basically communication devices that can be used to talk between. It's the trick is finding the command word. So he's literally just talking at a stone. He doesn't actually know what it is because it has yet to be identified by him.
They don't know that.
Alright.
But what I would say is, and by the way, this was given to me by Isidore when you guys attacked him. So, of course I wasn't going to say, no, don't give me that. So I took it and I was running because I wanted to get the hell out of there. Figured I'd talk with him later. And then all this shit happened. So now what would your thing be?
So Renn would reach back into his pocket as if to pull out the stone, but instead would pull out a coin and just show them the coin.
Kevin knows immediately, or Gilbert rather knows immediately that that's not it, and he also saw a bit of what you pocketed
I said,
and the
"You're
coloration.
funny." I said, I like you. You have a good like sense of humor, but no, really, what was that?
I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I'll show you later.
Okay, well, all right. I see how this is. I was trying to, gain your trust by telling you something. I figured you'd tell me something, but that's all right. You'll tell me later when you feel. When
That's
you
right.
your
Trust is
conscience
earned,
to ya.
isn't it?
Yeah.
As the carriage ride's coming to a close, Jack kind of looks to Saer and the others and says, kind of whispered over to Saer, "Are we inviting all these people over to our house, or what's happening here?"
I am still not sure I trust the gnome.
Speaking. When the ride's all over and everybody's getting out,
Uh huh.
I want to say something to you.
Cool.
To the DM or to me?
To Saer.
Okay.
I would just want to say, now remember, I was contacted by what I would describe as a mysterious man, wanted to talk to you. Said it was very important. So, let me know, what you want to do with that.
This man, did he have any strange markings on his body?
Jack almost seems like to kind of move in a way, Gilbert, that he's now standing over top, like the behind you, and he's just kind of shadowing you. It's
I'd like to kind of like slide out of the way a little bit. Like that's creepy, man. I don't stand.
Well, John, I'd also
right
like to
behind
think
people.
right now Sarah just has her hand on the hilt
On
of the
Asafune?
weapon.
Holy crap!
They look like they're very focused on your question.
No, I'm not pulling it out. I'm just sort of
Right.
holding it there, just
Yep.
to give you notice.
Yep.
All right. What I would say is he had like stringy black hair, I believe, and he had a tattoo of an angel with its wings.
Jack's face like immediately goes white, and he kind of
So-
steps away from Gilbert and kind of looks at Saer like super nervous.
But I know that this is something between you and him, so you do with it what you will. But I do know he was very intent on speaking with you. That's what
Where
I'm
was
saying.
this man?
I happened to when I spoke with him, he was in my my lord's office, so that would be Wellenbart. Yes.
Yep, House Wellenbart.
Sydney Wellenbart. That's where I spoke with him. So think about it, anyways. If you do need to get a hold of him, pardon me.
I said, if you see him again, small man, it's best to tell him that you did not find me.
All right. If that's how you want to do that, he sounded like he didn't necessarily sound like a bad guy to me. He looked a little sketchy.
I turn around and I start walking away.
Yep.
All right. So we're going over to your house.
Gilbert's you think you're gonna outpace Gilbert because he's just a little gnome, but those little feet, he just beats him. He's like, "Bip, bip, 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 bip." He's actually faster than you, and he gets right next to you. He's like, "So we're going to your house?"
After everything that happened today, we could all use a drink, I'm sure.
Jack kind of tries to grab at him to kind of hold him back in a way, but he gets out of his grasp because it's moving too fast. Doesn't even recognize that Jack tried to grab him, and then Jack kind of hobbles after the gnome. What's anybody else doing?
I'm gonna also follow.
Okay. Renn, if you're kind of hanging to the back, you kind of lift up the gemstone and kind of notice that the positioning has changed. It seems to be pointing south, like it's almost towards your office.
Yeah, that's where I'd go.
You just split away from everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay. Gilbert, you're keeping up with Saer, no problem. Brox'gar and Jack are kind of falling back because of speed restrictions. But I assume you're all going back to...
I was going to say, my response to Gilbert's question of, so we're going to your house, I could use a drink, would probably be something like, you have enough money to buy a drink anywhere you want.
Right. Yeah. Do you want me to buy you a drink? I could do that.
Jack kind of like raises his ear up and kind of goes, huh?
Yeah,
And Brox,
Now we're talking.
that's a good idea, Gilbert.
I don't know about
Just
this.
going to.
I love Brox though. I don't know about this Gilbert guy. I'll buy you guys a drink. Yeah, I like Gilbert. He's good.
Yeah, best
hang out.
buddies now. We're drinking buddies now.
This guy's not so bad.
So bad after all. You guys do notice that Renn splits away from you though.
I would, if I notice him, like kind of split away, I would kind of yell after him. Goodbye, Renn. Maybe we'll talk again later.
Okay.
I just wave to him.
So, quick question, Yenlorin. Would the answer to Valet's question have been yes or no? Do you want to double?
Oh, the answer is no. He's gonna just change into a standard person.
Okay.
Oh, go Gnome.
And then, Yenlorin, are you going to do anything about your attire to make it different, or just stay in the same attire?
What is the likelihood that anyone would actually remember me?
You are pretty brightly colored, but besides that, no.
I'm not gonna fuck with it.
Okay.
I don't think I've made enough of a stink to...
Makes perfect sense. So, you're after kind of speaking to Razik for a moment, he tells you he's basically going to try and stay here for as long as he can, and he's going to try and get out of here if an opportunity avails itself. He asks you if you do find any way to get out of the city safely that doesn't require him to use any of his magics, to let him know. Then he tells you the way to get out, to get access back up to the surface, back up to the street level, and you guys go and take it. As you're coming out and getting up onto the street level, kind of, you're trying to remain inconspicuous and not be seen, and then kind of exit out onto the street, kind of go your own way wherever you're planning on heading. Renn, you see that the stone is leading you towards this grouping of buildings in an alleyway, and you see kind of like looking out of the alleyway, Yenlorin and some other individual. But you recognize Yenlorin. Doesn't look like
Yeah.
he's changed.
I would definitely want to go after him since I was worried about him in the tower and unsure what happened.
All right, not trying to sneak up on them, nothing like that. You hear a voice behind you. Hey, Renn!
I turn and look.
Okay. You see a familiar-looking rogue fellow, Tybalt, from the night before.
Mardigan, yeah.
Okay. The noise and...
Well, could you just hold... does Yenlorin and whoever's with him see that I'm there?
They do now, and I was actually going to sort to that. Yenlorin and Valette, you see that Renn appears to be walking your direction. A voice is the thing that caught your attention to that side, and you see that someone's walking over to talk to him.
I just didn't want to lose them.
Well, now here's their opportunity. Are you guys going to sit and wait for that conversation to end and then try and talk to Renn? Are you going to go and interject yourself now, or are you going to escape?
I follow Yenlorin's
I
lead.
figured that was the case, yeah.
I mean, he called me over. I'm gonna go over there. I'm curious. I got no reason not to. We're far away from the tower now, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking at the map, let me go ahead and rearrange some things here real quick. So you're kind of close to right about here-ish.
Okay.
Okay.
You're technically in the port district.
Perfect. Then yeah, I have no reason not to approach Renn at this point.
Okay. You guys walk over. The guy who is talking with him appears to be kind of a surly type, possibly a brigand or a cutthroat or something like that. On the docks, not too uncommon a sight to see. He walks over and he says, "Hey, we did what you asked, trying to find out what we could. Got some information if you're interested."
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, apparently from what we heard, Razik did get killed. Apparently from what the magistrates were saying is it wasn't identified as the Magier, somebody else.
Wait, it wasn't the Magier?
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if they wanted us hearing, but we heard. We got the ears in the right place at the right time, fortunately. But it sounds like the new Magier that's currently sitting there is It's a an individual by the name of Kirgozler or something. I don't know.
Do you know anything about that person?
I don't know, but one of the mates said that Kirgozler is a gnome name.
Do you have any idea if the idealists are involved in what's going on? Because I was there, and it's really strange. I'm not sure what's happening there. There's something going on.
As you're kind of finishing that sentence, like you're kind of sitting there and thinking about it, and you go, "Oh shit!" And you remember when you booked the Blue Gnome, his surname is Kirgozler.
Okay.
Gilbert Kirgozler.
What? Wait, what? The new Magier?
Apparently, the person they're calling the new Magier goes by the name Kirgozler.
Wow. Okay. I think I've heard that name before. Is there anything else you could report?
That's all I got. Hopefully, that's worth something, though. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know where to find me, and I will repay the favor.
Of course. Just make sure that the lemon caps shake their feathers somewhere else. He smirks and walks away. And then about that time, Yenlorin's kind of coming up to it at the end portion of it. I assume he heard the last portion of it, but not much more beyond that.
So who do I see alongside of Yenlorin?
Some guy or girl.
Some guy.
Which is it?
You see a man, slenderish frame, some muscular but lean, with brown hair, brown sideburns. Yeah, and he seems to be sort of holding. He has a shield and a javelin on his back, and you see a dagger at his side.
Okay, so Renn would say to Yenlorin, I'm glad you're okay. Where is the other one, the one who we fought with? We went to the tower, and there was a lot of confusion. They wouldn't really let us in, and once they did, you were gone.
Yes. It seems, sadly, that our old friend, this Agent 87, they call him, he had been in Conglomerate much. I'm not even part of Conglomerate. This man, Jimmy Blades, he tell you, I'm from out of town. Anyway, this Agent 87, we get down into dungeon. This man, he asked me all sorts of questions about hand singles and these scrolls and this place with the men's and the ladies that I do not know. But basically, Agent 87 have answers. They keep Agent 87 in dungeon. Let Yenlorin go.
Do I believe that?
Please say yes. Please say yes.
Yeah. No, surprisingly
Yes.
so. Yeah, it sounds like this person who's with Yenlorin, he was addressed as Jimmy Blades, and basically he seems to be. I mean, there's definitely a lot of differences between him and Agent 87. A bit taller, more stocky, muscular for sure.
Different name.
Different name.
That's the big one.
And Jimmy Blades isn't in jail, and Valette is, according to what you were told. But yeah, no, you totally believe him. Sounds legit.
Okay, so where are you headed now that you're through with that? I would say to Yenlorin.
He kind of shrugs. Yenlorin has no goals. Man coast through life. At my age, you just soak in sun.
So this is the party that's never ever gonna gel, by the way, right? This is what's happening now.
It's going to be like the show
This is what's
Heroes.
happening.
I don't know if you watch Heroes.
This is the group that's never coming together.
It's like, oh my god, that guy can time travel. He would be really great helping me solve these really mundane, stupid problems. The last portion of the season,
Yeah.
he does something completely dumb,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work.
So
Guys,
it
just
seems like
remember,
he's doing his
save the
own thing.
cheerleaders, Save
Save
the
the
world.
world, right. So I guess I would just take my leave of them then, since they don't really seem particularly helpful and maybe even a little evasive.
If you're trying to leave, I'm gonna say to you, does men have goals for Yenlorin and my friend Blades? We happy to help with other investigations, with the interrogations, with the beatings,
Actually,
You know
yeah.
how you police type work. We happy to help.
Actually, yes. I could use some help. I think that there's
All right,
something
we
going on.
go beat people.
Excellent. You stay with me then. I have a place I'd like to stop at first, and I'd want to go where the stone is leading me towards. Is it my office?
Oh, your stone's not showing you anywhere anymore. It was actually pretty much somewhere behind where they're at.
We're behind where they're at, where they might have come
Yep.
from initially?
Do you say, hold on a second, I need to check something out and go back that way?
Yes.
Okay. It eventually leads to a point where Yenlorin and Valette, who are kind of just behind you, gets to the point where where you guys came out of the ground. And it looks like your thing starts spinning, and it seems to be this is where it was destining you to.
So it indicates the teleportation.
No. You don't
place,
go into
or
the sewer. It just leads you to the sewer access.
Okay, so it leads me to the sewer access. Okay.
So
Okay.
you guys watch as he has a stone and is walking over there, and the stone's spinning, and it leads him right to where you guys came out of the secret hideout.
Blades interjects. Oh, it stinks over here. Why don't we go get something to eat where it smells a little fresher?
Okay, Pockets, let's go.
That is so awesome.
I love it. All right. Do you guys? I mean, that's where it leads you to. You guys head away. Where are you guys heading? Any particular location? Just back to your office.
I guess at this point, back to my office. I don't really have any other thing I want to do.
Okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you guys get to the door. It's probably somewhere around like midday, getting close to like lunchtime. And Jack kind of walks over to the door and opens it, letting whoever is currently allowed into the house into the house. Saer, you're the.
I suggest before we get there that Gilbert and I go pick up a couple cakes.
Oh, yeah. Jack kind of nods his head. Yeah, great idea.
If I'm gonna pick up something to drink, I should definitely be with a dwarf because they know
Okay.
the best stuff to drink.
There's a pub not
For
too
sure.
far away. It's actually across the street, catty corner near the lake. And that tavern is known as the Rended Blade.
Just in idle conversation on the way over there. Did the mage that we've been running into recently, the one that gave you the stone, he happened to give you a command word to activate it? That's how those sending stones usually work.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't get the command word yet, but I didn't want to let on to Renn that I didn't know what it was because, I was trying to show off, get him to tell me what he was doing, but didn't work, so. Yeah, I could have one of my gnome buddies. I have a friend who knows a little bit about magic. He can identify stuff for me, so. But yeah, thanks for the information. So, what does Jack like to drink then? I think we need to get him something.
It was
and,
it was a good dwarven ale, wasn't it, John?
Yeah,
alright,
so
let's get that stuff.
if you go into the Rended Blade, you guys see that it's pretty quiet. It's the afternoon. There are only two people besides you in the bar. One of them appears to be a really old dwarf, just sitting up on a stool that looks like it's got steps that lead up onto it, so he can just kind of walk up it and kind of sit. And then the gentleman behind the bar appears to be just a middle-aged man, dusty kind of blonde hair. Definitely looks like a guy who's lived beachfront for a while. And he kind of looks up at you guys and says, good morrow. What can I help you with?
And I would look over at Brox and be like, why don't you pick out some stuff, since you know him better than I do.
The old dwarf. You guys having a party?
I'm gonna look over. I'm gonna look over at Brox.
Away.
Just to so like kind of look at him and be like, why don't you deal with this?
He kind of looks over at you, and you very immediately recognize that his right eye is normal looking, white, plain and simple. The left eye appears to be bloodshot, but it also appears to be very strange in that it appears to be a glass eye. And the barkeep says, "Don't worry about Grandpa. Don't have to bother them." He's like, "You shut up, Kenneth. If they're having a party, I'm going to that party. I told the family it's drinking day, and I'm not coming back home until these eyes match."
Well, I apologize, brother, but I can't invite you into someone else's home. But however, I will take two. To Kenneth, I'll take two of the kegs, whatever it was that we were drinking the other night, and also point to Gilbert.
The old dwarf slams his hand and he says, "You're drinking that dwarven ale. You're drinking that ale guzzler, and you're not going to invite me? Oh, I'm a cousin of the ale guzzlers.
Wow.
That's sacrilege."
2 rounds for this man here, or this dwarf man here.
2 rounds will be fine, I guess. What's your name?
And he's paying. I'm pointing at Gilbert. I'm Brox'gar. Brox'gar Blazehatchet.
Kenneth kind of looks at him, like at the old man dwarf. The old man looks at him. They both like exchange a look, and then the old man looks at you and goes, "Blazehatchet. Blazehatchet. Aren't you supposed to be up from Stormloft? What are you doing in these parts?"
Traveling. I've lived here in Rastagar for some time, over in Red Wheel.
You know any mug pounders? They're from Stormloft. That's me. I'm a mug pounder.
I do. Mud pounders are good dwarfs, good family.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, if you're looking for anybody to help work, I can handle myself around a forge. Kenneth looks down at him and kind of says, "You can't even get off of that stool." And the dwarf kind of just, "You shut up, Kenneth. Get me those 2 drinks I was promised." Kenneth kind of shakes his head, but he's got a smile on his face, kind of walks away, and the old dwarf says, "I'm serious. If you got any kind of work, I'm not much for dock working. I can't make it all the way up to Red Wheel because I can't afford the trolley."
I do know of a human down the road who forges. I could put in a good word for you, but I can't make any promises.
Yeah, well, that's better than nothing. So's the 2 cups. Thank you, Blazehatchet. Your family is an honorable one. Smiles. The 2 mugs are set in front of him by Kenneth, who's still smiling, beaming, just happy guy. And the dwarf shares his face, but you can see that behind the big old brush of hair in front of the mouth of this dwarf, as he parts it for the smile, like he's missing teeth. A couple of them look like they're rotted through, but I mean, he's still got a really mean jaw to him, and he starts just sinking himself in those cups. Kenneth also kind of reaches underneath and pulls out 2 kegs, sets them out on top, and anything else?
I'd pull out my gold and be like, "How much is this going to run us? I'll take care of this, Brox."
Each keg will cost a gold.
All right. And then how much to keep this old man in the beer, like, for hours?
That dwarf just
basically until you close.
That dwarf looks straight at you, like. And Kenneth looks at you kind of confused too, and he says, "Honestly, in his cups, it's gonna be about 2 or 3 gold, sir."
I will do that, and then I would walk over to him and say, "If you're a friend, my name is Gilbert Kirgozler, and I may need the favor of a dwarf someday. So please enjoy yourself on me." Then I would throw the gold up there and walk away.
Whatever.
With Brox.
Whatever you guys want. He says as he looks at the beers and his smile's kind of gone to almost like a giggle. He's like, and he takes the coin and he says, "You got it, Master Gnome. You folks have a great day at your party." He says, "Party? I thought you said it wasn't a party." "All right, well, you're paying for my drinks here. I don't have to leave. That's fine. I'll see you guys around." You guys heft up those pony kegs.
On the way out.
Or not pony kegs, kegs. Sorry, who's carrying them?
I'll carry one. Alright, I'll carry them both. Wait, no, I can't carry them both either. I'll carry one. You gotta carry one.
Can we roll them?
You could roll them. I'll allow for that. Go ahead and make dexterity acrobatics.
Oh,
or
shit.
a dexterity athletics.
You realize I haven't done much
Sorry.
at all, which
Yeah.
means now's the perfect time to roll a 1 and like lose my keg. All
Okay.
right. Dexterity. Do I need to roll 2?
Yeah, you're both doing one
RC.
apiece, right?
Yeah, that's what I was planning on it.
Okay.
All right, let me do that. Sorry, something's wrong with my sheet. Oh, here you go. All right.
This is
folks
what I
at
just went to
home.
rolling real dice.
All right, what am I rolling again? Dexterity, acrobatics. Yeah,
Or
sorry.
athletics, either or. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're both zeros, so
Okay.
that's great.
Brock's got an 8 on his acrobatics.
What the
Yep,
heck
I see
happened?
it.
It didn't work. Did it work for me? I don't think so.
What
No.
about the people
What'd
at
you get?
home that
They-
don't see?
11.
Okay, for the people at home, I rolled an 11.
Okay, so you guys are rolling. Gilbert's doing fine, managing himself, but Brox, as you guys are kind of passing, a section of the street that kind of has a small bit of like a waterway, aqueduct kind of running underneath a small partition of the street. You kind of roll yours, and it starts to head towards a point where it's about to fall off, and you see a man kind of step over and stop it with his foot. As you look down at the you're kind of looking up him from the boot to because you're like looking at the keg. Foot appears, and then a man is connected to that foot. The boot appears to be like knee high, leather. He's wearing very fine looking tights, and looks like he's wearing a very brocade kind of floofy shirt. And a long coat. The long coat's like kind of bright blue, and he has a tricorn hat on his head. Looks very portish, and he kind of looks to you and he says, "You almost lost that. You don't want to lose anything like that. That's quite a bit there. What? You got a problem? Do you need some help?"
I look at him, and I give a humph, and I try to pick it up myself.
Okay, make a strength athletics check. You muster up the strength of your ancestors and heft that Viznatch up onto your shoulders and walk away from him in a guffaw. And as you and Gilbert are going, Gilbert's kind of like, "Whoa, huh, that's really strange." And then, like, maybe 20 seconds after you're out of sight of that guy, you're like, "Oh!" and start pushing it because you can't heft it. It's way past your weight comparison because of your strength. But you two eventually make it to the house.
My
with
pride
the
is undamaged. That's what's important.
Before
You
you
got
get there,
adrenaline.
Saer, you and Jack are in the house alone.
Yeah.
If anything, you don't want to broadcast it out in the open, that's fine. But if you want to have a conversation now, we could do it in the open if you're okay with it. Your call.
I mean,
I think I know how the conversation goes. We don't have to have it. I'm just asking
I
if you want...
basically, I tell him what I knew, and then
Yeah.
also just sort of like see if we could try to figure out a plan as to whether some of us need to stay and some of us need to go, or what he's thinking.
So his thoughts are basically if it becomes necessary, he still has friends in the watch, and he and the children could go somewhere safe if they need to,
Right.
and you could stay here and kind of
Yeah, because
live.
I mean, like, I want that as sort of a contingency plan, but only as a contingency plan. Like, I'd
Yep.
prefer.
You know that his friends in the watch are up in Red Wheel, so not too far away, but you know the people. Definitely a bunch of the group that still operates for the watch and would be helpful.
Yeah, and then also I just asked his opinion as to whether or not he thought I should pursue trying to find this person that the gnome mentioned, or
It sounds like they're hunting you. So if you're gonna walk into that, no, you're probably walking into a trap. You know that, right?
well, of course I know I'd be walking into a trap. That's,
I trust that dwarf. If you're gonna bring him along, make sure he's powdered up. Whatever he's got, he can probably use to help. The gnome, just based on what I overheard, seems a bit daft, but I assume that's just up to his noble upbringing. He doesn't know what it's like out here on the streets, but I'm sure he's a quick learner. I can see it in his eyes. He's trying to pick up on everything.
I
That,
agree with the part of him being daft. I am not just sure on the quick learner part.
That elf is streetwise, and if he's a member of law enforcement, it might be a help, but if he's corrupt, if he's caught, then, well, you might as well just push him in the river. Yeah. that's about it. The gnome might be trustworthy, unless I did something I didn't see there. The elf, I don't know, but that dwarf. Thud you hear outside, and then the door starts kind of shakingly open as they kind of move the kegs into it. You thought they were going to grab pony kegs, like just little like amounts to drink, but as Jack sees what's happening, he kind of brushes over to start helping you guys get the kegs in.
Yeah, I'd probably walk over and pick one up onto my shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
I'm compared to these two.
When Jack looks at Brox, he kind of goes, he's kind of like, you can see there's a laugh in his heart. Like, there was a moment, like, when he looked tense and paranoid when the door was struck and you guys were entering in, but then when he saw what shenanigans were happening, he was just like, you really brightened his day. He sets those bad boys up, puts spigots in them, and gets them ready for the drinking.
Well, the old
He
saying in
did not give you
Rastakar.
problems, did he?
No.
And they basically set you up, getting you ready for a conversation. I'm going to cut from you guys for just a second. I'm going to snap back to the other group. So you three head to Renn's offices together. When you arrive there, you enter in. Seems quiet, but you can hear kind of a. That's where you were headed, right?
Is that what we did? Okay.
Yeah, because they basically said it's stinky here. We should go, and you.
Okay.
The sewer access was where you thought this thing led to, and then you left. Yeah, you went to the office. You entered in. Was there something else you wanted to do? Or just...
No, it's good.
Okay. You enter in. It's pretty quiet, but you can kind of hear the sound of like soft hammering in the back. You would know that's Effie doing her thing. And the two of you kind of enter in. Nice looking office. Best way I can kind of describe it to you for simplicity's sake is it looks like it's a front room attached to a back apartment that's kind of set and sandwiched underneath more apartments on this building and kind of set beside a couple of other shops. And this front room, there's a desk and a couple of chairs, and then there's a back wall with a door that leads into the back area, which you assume is like a living space and possibly a workshop. This front room appears to be like a meeting room. And Renn, you go to your desk.
Yep. You might see random half-created devices, tinkered devices all over the place.
Yep. And almost as if on cue, like a small gnome comes out. She's got kind of blondish hair that's kind of dirty and raggedy. She has a pair of goggles that are kind of up on her head with all sorts of different magnifying devices on it. And she's just kind of covered in like grease and soot. Her hands are kind of dirty. She kind of looks over to you. Oh, hey, boss. I gotta get this accent right. It's really important.
Okay.
That wasn't it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go for like a New Yorker.
Sam Spade's secretary, right?
Yeah, like a.
Right.
Hey, boss.
Yeah, like
whatever that is.
I'm not good at voice acting, obviously, but like if I could do it right and do it justice, it would be like Harlequin from Batman the Animated Series. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, Puddin'.
Mr. J. I'm bad at voices. I'm just bad at voices.
Any messages while I was out?
Nope. Not a one.
Any new cases come in?
Nope.
Okay. I guess it's been a slow day for you.
And
but it
you're
hasn't
not
been
going
for
to
me.
introduce guests to the pretty little tiny woman.
Oh, excuse me.
She kind of raises her hand. She says, "I'm Effie and I don't have time. Sorry, I'll be in the back." And she walks away.
Goodbye, tiny little person.
She's got like a saunter to her walk, but she just seems to not care that you're here, and she leaves.
So Renn knows that Yenlorin is not being completely straight with him, but I don't think he cares very much. He would just basically want to explain what he experienced in the tower and see if Yenlorin would say a little bit more about what happened to them.
Regarding Jimmy Blades and regarding what's his name? No longer existent Agent 87.
Mm-hmm.
He's completely honest. You are 100% on that. Despite what your player knows, your player character believes that to the nines.
So my character believes Jimmy Blades.
Jimmy Blades is a real person. Yes.
Right. So that's why I'm just sort of dealing with Yenlorin at this point. Right. Who doesn't seem exactly completely honest to me.
Gotcha.
Jimmy Blades is leaning against the wall, drew his dagger, just sort of like cleaning his nails.
Okay.
It's the worst.
Toe knife.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that in here. That's really gross.
Sorry,
But
mister.
it's my
Oh,
toe knife.
I'll just put it away then. Twirl it.
Well, Yen, you kind of look over at what Valette is doing, and it's astonishing. It's actually really amazing, the transformation that's happened here. But you actually watched her kind of go through the process. You would have had to have. And so you know the dirt that she's cleaning out of her fingernails was actually dirt and grime she kind of scratched off of the sewer wall. So...
I'm that good.
Method
Just
acting,
like
right?
mad respect, bro.
you're like,
I got you.
the details are ambiguous.
I am trained in a disguise kit as well. I can appreciate a good work.
Oh, another thing too is like her technique was a lot different than what you were anticipating. Again, you watched her do it. She literally put a face on. Like it seems to be some sort of advanced technology that she utilized. Her disguise kit is not a regular disguise kit. It seems like it's aftermarket.
Actually, a face.
Word.
Yeah,
It's Westworld.
it's some stuff. But yeah, Yenlorin is your master is onto your secret. But yeah, you watched her basically make a face and put it on.
Right. So Renn would want to ask Yenlorin what happened with Razik, because Renn's contact from the Mardigans said that it wasn't actually killed. Is that why you're here? What's going on? And what about this new Major
Yes.
who is
This
Gilbert, the
man
same
here-
name as the gnome?
This man, Jimmy Blades, he met Vrazik in sewers. See, apparently Vrazik make out of this big coup d'etat is different language, but you understand, correct? Coup d'etat? Yes, and he still live. He's in town hiding until he can find way out of town, from what my associate said.
So that's why you were able to escape or be let go?
Not sure if he had hand in it. I know when I met with Judge Man also let me go. Seems I am not scapegoat. Is Agent 87 who take fall for this action.
Just to make sure I have the picture right in my head, I just want to make sure before I interject or do anything stupid that I have the picture right. Renn, you're at your desk. You're kind of taking notes and listening to him talk.
Right.
Yenlorin, you're sitting across from him at the desk, and Blades is kind of standing by the window, picking at his fingers and kind of just idly looking out, at the street. Trolleys passing by and so on. Okay, great. Continue.
So Renn would say that he thinks that the blonde woman, Saer, who looked just like Valette, Agent 87, is somehow involved in this too, and had something to do with the nobleman who was imprisoned.
Well, my associate here, Mr. Blades, he tell me that this. You tell him Vrazik say their secret men's inside the conglomerate, yes?
As you're trying to get Jimmy Blade's attention, Jimmy, your attention is actually focused elsewhere, and you can hear him asking for you, but you kind of have a determined lock now. You see that the trolley stops not too far from the office, and a man wearing entirely black attire kind of steps down from the trolley and seems to be walking with purpose towards Renn's office. As he now becomes a bit of a shadow in the frosted glass of the door, Renn, you can kind of see that someone's kind of approaching to enter into your office. And then this is about where that sentence was exchanged. You can see that the doorknob's turning and opening.
Right, interrupt you whenever I want to.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the pause after you said I saw him get off the trolley.
Nope.
But, Yenny, I think we should go in the other room. And I go and I walk towards is there a side room somewhere?
It's the back room.
There's a back room, yeah.
I walk to the back room and
Okay, Yen, do you follow?
I'm gonna gesture to Renn. Do you mind?
Nope.
Then I will also exit before the other guy enters.
Okay.
Or lady or beast or whatever the fuck you're gonna have enter this room.
The door opens. A man with his long black hair, a bit scraggly and curly, kind of hanging on the sides of his face, kind of enters in. Despite its kind of disheveled look, you think that's more just the way it grows, not so much his keeping of it, because besides that, it appears meticulous. He's wearing black attire, robes. It seems that the sleeves are, down, and underneath you can kind of make out that there's some sort of bracer on his wrists. He kind of enters in, looking at you and intently, closing the door carefully behind him, and he says, I think I overheard someone. Did you have guests, or are you currently available to receive a new case?
Oh, I was just talking to my assistant.
Oh,
Come on in.
very good. So you're available? And he kind of moves towards the chair and
sure.
sits. Hello.
Before you keep going, can Agent 87 and I hear from the room that we're in?
Yeah, as he kind of sits, I'm rolling those dice for you right here. He kind of sits, he looks to you, and he says, are your assistants trustworthy lot? They might be able to overhear what we're talking about. And yes, you can hear him just fine.
Absolutely, my assistant is very trustworthy.
Assistant? Are you sure there aren't more people back there than just the one?
My assistant is very trustworthy. Yeah, just the one.
He kind of looks at you nervously.
I'm sorry. What is your name?
Well, you are Renn Keeneyes. You are a private investigator, are you not?
That's right. Oh,
excellent. My name is Jacob, and I am looking for private investigator services. And I'm led to understand that your rates are manageable. It's 100 gold pieces per 6 days, is it not?
Right.
He tosses a bag out onto the table. It seems to be quite light from what you expect.
Quite light?
Yep, there's only maybe 10 coins in there instead of 100.
Okay.
He says, I'm really interested in looking into someone who doesn't live too far from here. And I need to get as much information about them as possible. And an old acquaintance, and I don't really want to just walk up to them and ask them how they're doing, because we might have left off on at a bad exchange.
How did you know this person?
We come from the same town, and we're quite familiar. I'm her cousin.
So it's a she.
Yep, her name is Saer, but she might have taken on a different surname, possibly through marriage.
Okay. Do you have any way to describe this person? What does she look like?
Blonde hair. She's got mismatched eyes. I haven't seen her in so long. She probably still has a youthful look to her. She was always beautiful. But I'm coming to the city, and I have reason to believe that she's here, based on what our family's told us, and I just really want to reconnect. But I don't want to just walk up to her and say, because again, I don't know how she would respond.
Well, why don't you know how she responds? Did you leave on bad terms?
She left the town of her own accord, and I don't want to know, or I don't want to just interject her past into her current life. I'd like to know if that's something she might be, if she's willing to accept that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And your last name?
Oh, I apologize. Is that necessary for documentation, or?
So, when I am hired to gather this kind of information, I want to make sure that not only the person I'm investigating is being done thoroughly, but I also want to know a little bit about the people who are hiring me. Make sure you're on the up and up.
I understand completely. That does make sense. My last name is Adams.
Okay. A common name?
Not terribly so, he says. It's a noble name. He shakes his head.
I see.
I guess we kind of have a few people who've traveled out and about, and cousin families traveling out. I tell you, the town we're from isn't exactly very populated, and there isn't really much going on.
And what town is that?
He gives you the name of the town, but my notes don't have it right now for some
Okay, that's
reason.
fine.
That's why I look like I've been scouring. Because I've been trying to find it.
Real quick while you're looking, Renn, in the back room, like, what would be in there?
There would probably so.
Oh.
This is probably also where Renn lives, right?
Well, you've got so sectionally what you have is so you've got the main chamber, which is probably like 14 by 14, right, with a desk set out, and your front office. Then you have the workroom, which is where she kind of takes over her space, which is actually more of like a long hall. It's 14 feet long, but it's only about like 10 feet wide. It's not as wide, or deep rather, as the front room. Then there are 2 doors on the back wall of this room. One leads into your bedroom, one leads into her bedroom.
Okay. And from prior dealings or whatever, go ahead.
Sorry, one more note. There are no windows in this room. The windows in the front room were only out exterior because, like I said, it is set inside of a building. It's basically lodged in between 2 other shops. And up above, there are more apartments.
And so, is your agency, or is this something known or not? Like, is your assistant known, like, you have a very eccentric assistant, or is it like, no one really takes notice of the assistant?
The gnome's not paying attention to you guys, so you're probably as important as you assume she is.
It's more anyway. If there's no real note or whatnot, then the new identity Blades would just stay and listen and not make any kind of muss or fuss.
Okay, and just a note, like copying her would be nearly impossible. She's a gnome.
Oh no!
Okay.
The thing basically was, would anyone know out of place that it's not the gnome being the assistant walking in? Kind of like a cover identity. He heard us, trustworthy, and it's like coming in, me talking, like, oh, sorry, I forgot the refreshments, but...
The guy doesn't seem to know anything about this place other than what he's overheard, so you're not sure. It's probably no reputation.
Right. But on the safe side, I'll just stay and quiet.
Cool. Okay. He says, so do you take the job or no?
Well, I did notice that you didn't exactly pay me the amount that I require.
10 platinum. I was told you take 100 gold.
And I would open it up and look.
Yeah, it's definitely 10 imperials.
Okay. So then, yes, I will take this on.
All right.
Where could I contact you?
Well, I'm currently, me and my associate are staying in in Old Brox'gar. Are you familiar with Sydney Wellenbart?
I have heard that name before.
You can leave a message there for us. We would be able to receive that message there.
So your associate is Sydney, or you're staying with your associate at Sydney Wellenbart's place?
My associate is another fellow, and Sydney Wellenbart is our current host while we stay in the city of Brox'gar.
And who is your associate? What's that person's name?
Oh, you are very thorough. It is my brother. It is Jason.
Ah, so you're both cousins of Saer.
Well, he kind of leans in. He says, "Jason's adopted."
Okay. Okay. I will certainly investigate, and I will be in contact with you.
Perfect. He kind of rises up from his seat and just heads out the door. Cut back to the cool kids. You guys are sitting there around a pony keg. This is where I'd like you to kind of just interject conversations and do some mingling.
Yeah, do some mingling.
Okay, so just to say, Saer is probably having, like, not keeping pace with the rest of everyone else with the drinks, but probably at least having 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's midday.
She's not a heavy drinker, period, but, special occasions.
Jack's not slamma-jamming it either, but he's definitely drinking. Like, he's
right.
doing a bit of day drinking. Brox, what's your level of party?
Slam it, jam it.
All right.
I'm a jam.
Go ahead and make me a Constitution saving throw. You can have advantage on it because of your dwarvenness. And then Gilbert.
Well, I think I'm going to try to be a little bit more reserved because I don't want to get totally sick and totally messed up and wake up with like dicks drawn on my face and
Gotcha.
stuff. Sorry for the internet people, but you know, who knows what these guys are going to do. I don't know that well. So, you know, you have a few drinks, try to talk to people, try to find out what they're doing.
It sounds like you had a troubled college.
Yeah, really.
No,
I
I was
going
lucky.
to,
I didn't have that happen to me in college, but
Yeah, I was going to
I
say.
tried to be careful.
I would probably be trying to keep the gnome's glass full.
Okay.
'Cause I kind of want him a little of a looser tongue, if potentially possible.
Okay, that being the case, Gilbert, do me a favor. This is going to be a weird one. Make me a charisma saving throw. I think that'll do.
Charisma saving throw. All right,
Yep.
let's do this. All right, people at home, I got 24, a natural 20.
You are able to kind of note that, like, every time you kind of pull away from the cup and kind of sit back, she's topping you off.
Yeah.
You recognize that she's basically kind of interacting with you in a way that she seems to be kind of trying to keep you talking. That said, what are you guys talking about?
I'd definitely ask Jack about his what he does. I got to hear that story.
Oh, I work here in the forge in the back. Do what I can. And he gestures around. You're sitting in a room that is basically the walls are covered with weaponry, armor. There are display cases and such. It looks like a fine armor and weaponsmith shop.
He is good. He is a good blacksmith. He's also good with the weapons themselves.
Awesome. That is really cool. I have this war pick, which I have sitting over near the door, and my shield and stuff. I figured I'd probably take my armor off if you guys were cool with that. I'm
Yeah.
still wearing clothes, but and I'd be like, that war pick of mine is, I mean, I don't really use it much, but I have it. It's a family heirloom type thing. If you want to take a look at it, I'd
Sure.
hand it to him.
My guess.
Thanks to it.
He kind of takes a gander at it. Family heirloom. This doesn't look like it's gnomish work. This is elvish.
Right, but it was given to us by elves long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Apologies. He kind of looks over to Brox kind of knowingly. When someone says heirloom, my mentality sinks to the dwarven mentality, and they typically craft the items of importance in their families.
Right.
He's like, he kind of gestures like our friend here is axe, which he had the pleasure of showing me. I do like the elvish craft, but I can never replicate it. They're very detailed in their work. The strength of a dwarf's craftsmanship is its functionality. The strength of an elf's craftsmanship is its presentability. It's
Right.
probably good that you don't use it too much. You might chip and break.
Aye, I'll drink to that.
He's totally sloshed. Yep. Drink. Just have a good time. So what are you doing in the area, Brox? I noticed during our little unfortunate encounter, that's what I'm going to refer to it from now on, but I noticed that you had some real powerful weapon. It was like a wand that shot, you know.
Add a character
what guns
note.
were?
Yeah, guns are commonplace.
We know what guns were. Okay, you had some
It was a cannon.
like handheld cannon. It was crazy.
For the second time, you see Brock smile. You're like, you want to see it? I could show it to you, and I'll pull it out from under the cloak and show it to him.
It's basically just a huge barrel with connections on the top. It looks like it has a single trigger mount on it and kind of a large stock. And when you saw him whip it out before, you saw him kind of just hip fire the thing. But as he's kind of holding it now and showing it to you, you can see that if you were to try and shoulder shoot this thing for accuracy, it probably would do your arm in.
Have you ever seen a pistol before, Gilbert?
Wait, what did he say?
Have you ever seen a pistol before?
Yeah, I have. I've never used one, but I have seen them before. That thing is not a pistol, though. That thing is huge, and I'm glad you didn't shoot me with that, or I might be dead right now.
Saer,
It's not your average pistol. I made this one myself.
Okay, that must use a lot of powder.
It does. Which is the answer to the question you asked me, what am I doing here? I required an alchemist, which Saer, from what I hear, has quite a steady hand in, and she's going to help me acquire more blasting powder for my my weapons.
Yeah, excellent. So you guys are quite the family of artisans, then. You have a blacksmith and an alchemist, and a family, and you have kids and everything. How many kids do you guys have?
Just sounds so intimidating when he's asking it.
No, I don't mean to ask in a creepy way. You have to realize I'm like really charismatic.
And how many children you have at home, and
Ooh, you
what
see
are
that
their
right
names?
there? Yeah. No, I
Can
don't
I
ask
see
in a creepy way.
pictures?
We have a couple of kids. But Gilbert, tell us, what is it that you do in this area?
Well, actually, it's an interesting story. I am I am a cleric of dim, and if you know, dim is basically travel and trickery, which I focus more on the travel side. Yeah.
What would I know about them?
You're trained in religion. I'll go ahead and make you intelligence religion.
We'll see if the alcohol affects it.
That's not going to be good. 10.
It's a gnome god. That's all you know.
Yeah.
The other thing you would know is
Fair.
that most pantheons kind of have like a duality. There's always like a good and a bad. Dim is the good one, but it's represented by a black circle. His holy symbol appears to be the main center focus of it, is a black disc. And then the opposite to him is undim. And then the religion is known as the dim dum.
Gotcha.
Continue.
And basically, I'm a pilgrim coming down from Stormloft, and I have a job as a court functionary at Sydney Wellenbart. He's the lord that I work as a court functionary with him, and basically, so I'm basically I tell people I'm kind of like a bureaucrat. I do stuff in the courts, writing stuff down and taking notes and looking stuff up, and but I guess my real passion would be travel. I do like to travel a lot, so when I get the chance, I like to walk out, do some traveling. So that's basically me, That's all I'm up to. And as you could tell, my job sometimes requires me to meet with people. Sometimes they're shady because they want to talk to politicians too. So, but anyways, that's what I'm up to. I'm happy to be here, drinking some beer with a nice family, and meeting nice people. It was great.
And then this man that ended up talking to you, have you worked with before? The one with
Nope.
the tattoo.
No, I've never met him, and he just didn't seem right either. So he did seem a little sketchy, is the way I would put it. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to tell you because it was my my boss my lord had told me to help this guy out as much as possible. So
Who is your lord?
it is hold on a minute. Sydney Wellenbart. My own human mind does not remember it fast at all times, but my gnome mind would.
That's fair.
Yeah. So basically, you guys would notice talking to him that he's a pretty wise guy. As far as wisdom, he's not strong or dexterous. His con is not great either, but he's pretty like charismatic, also wise, charismatic, and he's relatively intelligent. He's not like a genius, but he's not dumb either. So that's what you know about him.
Is that with advantage or not?
No. Okay. You guys are sitting there, kind of exchanging. It does look like Brox is kind of sitting in his cups, and it seems to be kind of mulling over the events of the day, kind of stroking his chin.
I don't mean to be a party pooper, but it seems like we're getting mixed into some pretty troubling business. This city doesn't take kindly to renegade mages and the acts that they perform. And the lady that we saw earlier at the spire, she's pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, she was.
How did you pronounce it, John? Biken?
Biken, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was pretty obvious to me when she went in there, she was gonna kill that guy, and we kind of caught a glimpse of it. But I don't even know if that I haven't really been in Rastigar a long time, but I've never heard of the mage ears like executing somebody like that. That seemed really brutal, and I don't really know what to make of it.
Hey, Andy, they haven't been watching Moon's Remorse, have they?
No.
No, I haven't.
Conglomerate doesn't execute people like that. Yeah, okay.
But they do. But see, I'm new in the city, so that's why I'm asking.
No,
It's
just
like,
no.
yeah.
In this timeline, no, not so
Yeah.
much.
And she was from the east too. She had the clothes of somebody from the east, so that's also strange, you know.
She was definitely Saer. She perhaps works for the Emperor. I don't know.
And that's another strange thing. Now you bring up the Emperor and the Margrave. The Margrave got me released from the jail that I was being held in, which I'm assuming was because I was a noble. But, wait, I wouldn't know that he released Renn, would I? Or not Renn, those guys. No, I wouldn't know that. But that was weird. I would just mention that. But I don't know about the stuff that happened to you guys. Because you're over there hiding from a Terminator.
Right.
And we're partying it up. You guys are...
It's a pretty accurate description.
It's black.
Yeah. So that would be what I would do, and then until basically everybody was like ready to go to bed, then I would, take off, go back to my place, try not to get mugged.
Well,
Some low life.
Yeah, perfectly fine. You guys are sitting there talking for a while. Is there any other questions that you had for Gilbert, Brox, Saer? Jack doesn't ask too many questions. It seems to be kind of like consolatory. Every chance he kind of gets as you're kind of talking or kind of leading into a question, Jack is like right behind you, Saer, kind of like, giving you a shoulder rub, or like he's just present,
I'm trying to get a general read on Gilbert. Like, I kind of figured some stuff out about him, but I'm trying to figure out if what he's presenting is genuinely who he is.
So
or if he's trying, putting on a facade.
Basically, what you get from him based off of the insight roll I just rolled for you, you're kind of what you're feeling about him is he is genuine with everything he's said. His motivations are not clear, but what you're gathering, though, is they're not malicious. It doesn't seem like Gilbert's the kind of guy who's trying to lead anybody into kind of some kind of foray. If that were the case, he wouldn't have told you about the guy who's looking for you.
Right.
He would have just reported back to that guy.
He's just got that politician vibe about him.
He seems to be a liar, but
I
you're
got douchebag written all over me.
he seems to be a liar. It's hard to trust what he says, but the thing is the things he's saying sound right. You'd probably vote for him.
Okay.
No.
So I just say probably as he was leaving, I just pull him aside and just sort of say a bit of advice. That man, try to never see him again. If you have to leave where you are,
Right.
it will not end well for you.
Yep. Thank you for your hospitality and for allowing me to buy a little bit of alcohol to, have a good time here. And, the more we talk about it and I think about it, you might want to find out more about this guy, and that way, you have a husband and a family. So
I think I already know enough about him as is. Honestly, I'd prefer not to learn more.
Right. Well, I was thinking that because it, depending on what you find out, you may have to do something, to protect yourself more. That's I see your family here, your nice little house. I would hate anything to happen to you and your family. And I'm not. That sounds like a threat from me.
So
But
creepy.
I mean, from that other creepy guy is what I'm worried about. I don't.
My
want anything to
favorite
happen to you.
my favorite part about this, Kevin, is you are just such a genuine, real life sweetheart. But with the way that the character has basically gone, when you say things that are like, "So how many kids do you got?" or
They think I'm a murderer.
everyone's like, "Why are you gonna call a hit on him? What are you gonna do?" And
Where are your kids?
it's just making me
Are they
giggle.
home from school yet?
Which actually Jack kind of gives you a pat as you guys are kind of getting towards a closing section. He says, "I'll go pick him up. You keep dealing with this." And he kind of nods off as he heads out the door to go pick up the kids.
So you didn't tell me a lot about yourself, Saer, but I understand that you're guarded. So maybe next time we talk, you can tell us a little bit more.
Yes. Next time.
Yes.
Okay.
But your husband and I are now drinking buddies. So.
It sounds like such a politician.
As much as I love my husband, he would drink with a dead rodent if it was.
And he's like kind of like about to exit the room. He's like, she's not wrong.
After Gilbert and Jack both leave, and I'm good and drunk. I do want to say to Saer while we're alone that I can tell that you're a good person. I can tell that your family is good people. And I didn't mean to pry earlier in asking about your business, but whatever happens, I can tell you that I do have your back. You seem to be mixed up in some pretty foul shit, but I know you're a good person, and I'll be here to help you.
I appreciate that.
And I keep drinking some more because I'm feeling good.
And scene.
Scene. The guy's back at the office. You're kind of sitting there shortly after the man in black exits. And you guys kind of come back out into the world. It doesn't even seem like Effie noticed you were back there. She just kept on doing her business. The thing that she appears to be working on, you're not even sure what it is, like looking at it. It's a bit confusing, to be sure. But it seems to be some sort of device, some piece of technology that she's working on.
He's pretty handy. So Renn would look to Yenlorin and Jimmy Blades and say, so what did you hear?
Blades for short.
Okay, Blades.
People call me Jimmy.
So how much did you hear?
I look over at Yenlorin like, pretty much all of it.
Right. So, go
so
ahead.
he wants us to go find this, or wants you to go find this, this woman?
Who we already know, and he looks at Yenlorin. So we already know her. The question is,
We have
how do
seen
we want to
her.
handle this?
How much we know her is debatable.
Well, I could say the same about you.
This true.
This is very true.
The truth.
Dabby in the back. So I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go and search her out and tell her these people are looking for her. We fought together. I owe her that much.
Well,
I am happy to follow. I have no plans. I see no reason to intercede.
do you not eat much doing this kind of work? Because I'm getting kind of hungry. It's that time of day.
So if you are with me, maybe we could formalize this agreement, and he would take one of the platinum pieces and give it to the two of them.
Oh,
One each, or one
One.
platinum for the two of us? Fantastic, I pocket it.
Okay.
Don't worry, Blades get his cut later.
Excellent. There's more to go around if we successfully conclude this.
So you guys are heading over there? Is that what?
Well, I don't know if I know where Saer's house is, right?
Yeah, you do. You investigated
Oh, I
her
do.
prior to the
oh.
engagement.
Yeah, and also he sent the owl to follow.
Yeah.
Because you knew that
So-
Agent 87 effectively changed his look to look like her. Yeah.
Yes.
Or
Sure.
her look.
It's still daytime. It's still. Yeah. Time of day.
It's
John?
about just after probably around 2ish.
Yeah, definitely would want to head over there.
Okay. You guys head over that direction, making your way up that main thoroughfare to the thoroughfare that heads past Saer's home. You guys pass by the same exact pub that you guys went to go get the kegs. And you guys have been drinking for a while. Or no, you guys haven't been drinking for a while. The other side's been drinking. I'm sober. But you guys head over that way. You pass by the pub. that you didn't go to at all ever, because I got mixed up. Thought you guys were a party, and you walk over and you knock on the door, but you do see that the man that was with you, that was kind of with Saer when you guys were leaving the conglomerate, is a ways away from you. It looks like he's heading kind of up the road a bit.
So that's Jack.
Yeah, and you would know from the town's layout, it looks like he's heading towards the community center and the school.
Mm-hmm. So Renn would knock on the door.
Okay. Brox, you just finished your statement to, Saer, basically saying you got her back, and there's a knock at the door shortly thereafter.
I mean...
Oh my god, adorable.
That is too cute. Oh, that poor cat.
Yeah.
Is it a he or a she?
It's a he.
It's the hat of shame.
The cone of shame.
Yeah.
Bad cat. Okay, anyways, back to the knock.
Anyway. So, is there some way I can look out and see who's at the door without necessarily opening the door?
Based on your lifestyle choices up until this point, I would assume there's a means of peeping out, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to see who's there first. Just because it's been one of those days.
You see Renn, Yenlorin, who is the mage you saw the night before. I don't know if you caught his name, actually. Although it has been mentioned a couple of times, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever caught his...
No? Okay, that's fine. And then you see some other person who kind of looks like a tough, just a street guy.
The street guy, can I see his arms or anything?
No tattoos.
Okay. I'd open the door and just say, is there more business that you are having?
It seems that we are fated to meet again. So this is my crew. My associates. Anyway, I have something I'd like to talk to you about in private.
Come in.
Okay, so he does.
You see that the only other person in there is Brox.
Hey!
There appears to be 2 kegs set up on the desk. The spigot are set in them. It looks like they've been, they're still dripping a little bit from the last pour.
Right.
Brox probably still has a bit in his cup.
Nice.
There's a couple of
He refilled his by now.
Nice.
couple of empty mugs out and about. But yeah.
So Brox and Renn really haven't had a chance to talk, and so they're not going to have a chance right now, but maybe Renn would give just like a little high five as he walks by, and would sort of walk to Saer and sort of talk to her on her own if he can.
Unless she's taking you upstairs or into the back workshop.
Oh no, I'm just staying in the front room.
Okay. Doesn't look like she wants to be alone with you.
Okay, that's fine.
Take a seat,
Renn would
have a
say,
drink. It's on Gilbert.
"Oh boy."
Don't mind if I do. All right. And I go and I get 2. I just take 2 of the ones that are there that already been used, and I fill them with.
Okay.
Two-fisted, yeah.
Are you gonna drink them though?
Yeah.
Okay. Do me a favor and make a deception check.
All right. With charisma.
Dexterity deception, please.
Okay, I am proficient, so dexterity proficient.
Okay. So you would know a lot about your inner workings and how liquids kind of don't really go into you and stay for very long, being the way you're constructed. But you have a system, and you know how to basically get it to settle inside of like a cavity inside of your body, which can be later depressed and released. And so you're kind of shifting yourself and yeah, drinking, but you're doing it intentionally to get it down a specific way so it goes into that small little cavity on your left side.
You all right over there?
No, he totally looks normal. He totally looks normal. He looks like I guess the best way to say it, he kind of looks like a lad or a bro. He's like, yeah.
And I would say probably within 10 minutes, I would ask where the bathroom is, because
Yep.
Alcohol just goes straight through me.
Right.
Nice.
There's alleyway next to house.
Please.
Well, I got the timings off, but
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Perfect.
Very nice.
timing was way off.
So Renn would say to Saer, you know, in addition to being a former member of the City Watch, I'm also sort of an investigator, and someone came to see me today with a job to look for an old acquaintance. And he would pause and say, his name was Jacob Adams.
Okay, so does that name actually sound familiar?
So I've been trying to find it for the life of me, and for some reason I can't. But the name of your hometown, the lords of that town were the Adams family. No. Think of the lyrics.
That was really good.
Think of the lyrics to that song and see how much it's fitting for what we're talking about here.
Oh yeah, no. I just I wanted to do snap.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
So,
Which one
Jacob.
was it? You said.
Go ahead.
So, and I'm I know the family.
Yeah.
Like I at least know all of who they are. So
Yeah, you would
do
know.
I know anyone else in the family that he particularly hung out with?
Well, you would know that the patriarch of that family was actually the one who performed the rite on you.
Which none of us know exactly what that means.
Well, what I mean,
Nope.
what I mean to say is the patriarch of that family, Jonathan Adams, was the one who actually led that group. He had 3 sons: Jacob, Jason, and Jared, in that order.
Were Jason or Jared with him?
Yes. Well, not with him, but Jacob described Jason accompanying him, and Jacob seemed very keen on finding out information about you. I'm telling you this because I feel I owe it to you since we helped each other in combat.
Yes. I am familiar with the Adams family.
There you go.
I'm sorry, John.
It's fine. You always name something, and then shortly thereafter, or during the announcement of what it is, go,
Oh shit.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, pop culture's a thing. Pop culture.
I've been there before too.
So-
Don't worry.
A couple of quick notes. I got to go on a tangent on this one real quick. Sorry, digression. But when I named the town Hilton, my wife was like, like Paris? Of course. And then the province of Cardiff, the people from Cardiff were originally known as the Cardithians.
Yeah.
The Kardashians.
Right, and then
It was good.
So they're just Cardiffs now. No Ians. Just leave that out. But yeah. Anyway, continue.
Out of there. Right.
So presently, I'm being paid to find out this information about you and report back to him.
Can you tell us about yourself?
Awesome.
I just glare at the.
Oh, it's said as a joke, and like I'm like laughing, like I know you're not gonna do that. It was like breaking the tension with weird like Russian guy.
They are from my hometown. Let us just say that I was ill-treated by them and would rather not find them again.
So then you should know that they're here, and they're looking for you, so you could make plans.
I had suspected that they were already here, as from what that Gilbert had said already.
So is Gilbert gone at this point?
Yeah, he's left.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's gone.
So I could add, says Renn, that Jason and Jacob are staying with Sydney Wellenbart, who is the nobleman for whom Gilbert works. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
That would make sense.
And Gilbert was forthright with you. He told you that the person, he didn't get the name of him, but the person he was asked to find out more about you for is staying at Sydney's house.
Right.
So I know that we've just met, and I know that we obviously haven't had time to learn to trust each other. And then he looks quickly at Yenlorin and back to Saer, and then gives another quick glance to Johnny Blades.
Jimmy.
Jimmy Blades. Reuben Blades, whoever, yeah.
Stephen Blades.
And then back to Saer.
Perhaps it is fortuitous that you are here. And if my cat would get off my mouse, I could look at my notes. Perhaps Atavus is blessing me with companions right now.
Do I recognize that name?
Can you say it? What was it again? Atavus?
You get.
Oh, it's Atavius.
Oh, sorry. Yenlorin.
Okay.
I would say yeah, actually.
Okay.
Atavius is probably one of the more worshipped gods in Jernaris. Atavius is the god of absolute law, the straightest arrow.
I know who Atavius is.
Your character also does.
Cool.
The even-handed judge, etc., etc., etc. The sun, ever bright, blah blah blah.
The benevolent son.
Yep. It may not be on there, but the sun ever bright is also another of his descriptors. Anyway, continue.
Anyway.
Yes, perhaps we were brought here together for a reason.
As if our lives are being controlled by one person.
Yeah, Lauren. I don't know. Like, how are you reacting to? Like, I mean, it honestly, it is a huge change. Like, what we're talking about here. Like, it's he was. You get my drift. What's your reaction to this? Pocketsness.
My reaction is I have an in to a new group right now, and I need to keep my head low from the conglomerate. Like, and I'm gonna keep my head low from the conglomerate. We need to play a long game here, Tim and I, and we're gonna take a step back. We're gonna do some side quests, and then we'll jump back into the main story a week or two down the road when our faces are not so fresh in minds. Because I feel even though nobody's looking for me, that woman will recognize me for about a week. A week down the road, probably not.
Yeah.
So if we do this little side quest and figure out who this other Jernaran bitch is, then we'll kill some time while we're just waiting to figure out what my next step is.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. So everybody's together with the exception of Gilbert, right? Okay. And sorry to cut you off. Jack would return with the kids. He kind of looks to you and the new group of people, kind of, looks like he's looking over at the wall where, he kind of keeps, some of his more favored weapons. Kind of gives you a look and he says, "Hey, honey, everything good?"
I think that perhaps the kids could learn a bit more visiting.
I'll take him
for the time being.
I'll take him. Just you know how to reach us. All right. Plan B, right?
Plan B.
All right. Love you.
Love you too.
He heads out, after going upstairs very quickly, kind of
As
gathering
he
up some
exits,
things.
Yenlorin says to her, "Were they your little seedlings?"
They are my children.
Adorable.
If that is what you mean.
A quick note too, like, well, no, you're just from a town that's kind of filled with them, not exactly from. Yep, never mind. I was going to say, seedlings is a pretty common term in Jurnaris. Like, referring to people as objects in Jurnaran culture is
Gotcha.
normal.
Okay. Fair. My character might know. I myself.
Yeah.
might
Well,
not.
thinking about it, no, you were raised around a lot of Jurnaran, like, people. Not many people besides, like, the noble
Right.
families spoke just straight Parnan. So, yeah, it would make sense that you wouldn't be terribly familiar with it, and it might seem insulting. That's fine.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut from you guys, and we're going to go ahead and cut to Gilbert. Gilbert, as you kind of start walking up to the house, you do see that at the guest house, or not the guest house, sorry, so it's not like a castle, it's just a manor house, right, that Sydney lives in. But there's still like a gatehouse, right? And then there's kind of like a gate that goes around, or like a fence that goes around the entire building that's iron wrought, or wrought iron rather, and like half of it's stone, half of it's wrought iron with spikes at the top. And you go into the gatehouse to get into the main complex. When you kind of come up to it, though, it seems strangely and disturbingly kind of still and quiet. There doesn't appear to be a guard station there, which normally would be the case.
Ooh. All right. I think that seems very strange if there's not a guard there and there's supposed to be. I think I would probably what people would see in this scene is they'd see me up there at the guardhouse, and then all of a sudden I'd like whistle a little bit, and then all of a sudden like something would go flying over top of me. And,
Okay.
And then it would go in there, and I would start doing a little bit of surveillance.
Sure. It doesn't so much fly too much as it kind of spider jumps to locations at heights and kind of will set itself up at higher points in the city, since there really isn't anywhere you can kind of go without a higher position. So the device does disconnect from you and start moving into the house through a higher vantage point. You're trying to kind of surveil the outer perimeter of the house through it, pulling out the remote and checking it, focusing intently on it. The servo enters in through one of the windows and starts to skitter into like the main thoroughfare of the second floor, the main course hallway that kind of goes through each of the building's rooms up top. You notice that the master's bedroom door is closed, and all of the bedroom doors on the top floor are closed. It seems like if anyone's up here, they're either like locked in their room, which is probably not true, during the middle of the day, or they're downstairs.
All right. Is my room up there, or would it be?
You enter
located
through
in a
your
different spot?
window.
Okay. So my room, does it look like it's been like
Turned
tossed
over or
anything
anything?
like that?
Nope.
All right. Then I would head down to the basement then.
Okay. Servo hops up, grabs a hold of the doorknob with its claws, spins itself, sets itself back on the ground as the door opens, enters into the hallway, again sees what I explained, moves towards the steps. As it's kind of getting to the steps, it kind of starts to move along the sides of the walls, keeping its main eye focused down as you control it to do so. And you do hear footsteps on the wood downstairs, kind of a creaking sound, which you're very familiar with having walked around in the house. The house is very old, but very regal. And when you kind of come down to a point where you're kind of looking into the main, not so much a dining room, kind of just like a lounge where guests are entertained. There are a number of like throw cushions and pillows on the ground that kind of form like couches and such, where the gnomes and guests of the house would sit around during after hours and kind of imbibe leaf through a gnomish device known as a hookah, and just hang out. You see that the room is basically empty, but someone's walking out of the room, heading towards the front door. You see the back of them, and you recognize the back of them immediately. Black hair pulled up, held together with pins, and she's wearing a very floral-looking gown, and it sounds like she's clicking her sword back into place at her side. Then you hear a grinding sound, not really having paid attention to, where it was, because you didn't really see it, but a chain kind of loosed out of her sleeve. You hear this grinding and scratching sound, and you see this claw just snap from like a room away, coming back to her, pulled by the chain and slip back into her sleeve. She gets to the door and reaches out for it with her hand and then stops. Turns around and looks over her shoulder and sees the servo.
Oh shit. Not good.
What would you like to do?
I would like the servo to run like hell.
Okay.
And is she coming out the front door, you said?
That's where she was intending to go, yeah, but the servo is going up back the way it came.
Right.
Okay. She spins around and the sleeve flares open. The claw goes flying straight out towards it, and
she's going to kill my hand.
you reflexively kind of snap the remote like, oh, and make it jump like straight up in the air, and the claw slams into the wood of the stairs and kind of gets lodged in it for a second. You can see her struggling as the chain goes taut, and then she grunts and rips it out, but you don't see her rip it out because by that time the servo's already made its way back out the window, leaps down, and starts heading in your direction. What would you like to do after it returns to you?
I'd like to circle around
The building?
I'd like it to go one direction, and I want to go to the other direction. I'm hoping she'll follow it.
So,
and then I want to hide somewhere so that she doesn't.
Its
come
main
and find me.
its main control method is you having to focus on this, and your mobility is basically shot while you're doing that.
How close is it to me then? Right now.
It's close enough for you to pick it back up and secure it
I
to the
pick it
remote.
up then and take it.
Yeah,
Pick
and
it
then
up and, take
where
it.
are you wanting to go after you've got the remote back? You know she's still in the house, but you don't know where she went to.
I'd like to go around the house to the opposite side of where the door is, the main door that she'd probably come out.
Okay.
And then that way.
Are you trying to hide?
Yeah, I want to try to hide too.
Okay.
I do not want to meet this chick in a dark alley.
Okay. As you're kind of moving around the house and kind of keeping an eye on it and trying to pay attention to the front door, your eyes kind of snap up towards the window and you see that there's movement in your bedroom. And so you immediately move to the stone wall and kind of hit against it and keep low. The last thing that you see is that she's coming out of the window, but not jumping out of it, just kind of looking out of it and starts looking around. When you get to your position and you're set up against the stone wall, you're just like, did she see me? Did she see me? Did she see me? Did she see me? And you're just kind of focused on that, thinking about it. And you just wait and start to realize, if she had seen you, she probably would have jumped down after you, or claw hands would have magicked at you. So you start to try to scuttle away, and you manage to make it to a point where you're able to cross the street and get into an alleyway away from the house.
Nice, and then I want to watch the house to see if she's coming my direction or going somewhere else.
If you're paying attention to the house and maintaining your kind of position, it doesn't take too long after that for the window to get shut and then her to come out the front door and start heading into the main street like nothing ever happened.
Holy shit. Okay, as soon as she's clear, I'd run into the house and I'd want to go up and check the doors to see if there's, everybody's alive and everything. Or if the house is totally empty and I don't find any signs of struggle, then I don't know what I'm going to do, but I definitely want to look to make sure there's no dead people in there.
Your first thought is to go the way the chain came from when she was in the main room, which was towards the kitchen. And when you go in there, you find Sydney basically just splintered, and looks like he was basically torn into the counter frame and killed by that claw. His last moments were present there.
Shit.
You do see that laying on his body, almost as if it was kind of set there, is a note.
I would definitely grab that.
Okay. You see that there appears to be wax sealing the note, and it appears to have a crested mark. The mark in question is a pair of serpents, which you would recognize as the conglomerate symbol.
All right, you know what I would do? I probably wouldn't open the note now because I'm trying to check the house. At first, I would make sure that he's really dead. Like, if you say he's torn apart, then obviously he's dead. But...
It looks like, okay, so basically, if you've seen the picture of the claw is, it probably weighs a good 12 to 15 pounds, right? And basically, the way you've seen it operate, it just gets sent where she wants it to go at blinding speeds. What it seems like is she came into this room, the main room, the gnome tried to retreat away from her, and she shot it off after him. And your servo was basically arriving shortly at the aftermath of that altercation.
Holy shit. This, just for a scene for people, I'd probably be in a lot of shock, but it'd probably be like some tears coming down my eyes because, like, he meant a lot to me.
Good friend.
And what I would do is I would also, after that point, if I know he's dead, I'd run around and check all the other areas in the house to make sure there's no other dead bodies or anything. Even though he didn't live with anybody else, did he? Besides,
other
like,
people lived in his house, but they were guests like yourself, and they would work for him. But
I
it
would
doesn't.
just want to see if there's anybody else in there.
Yeah, it doesn't appear anybody else was home.
Okay. And after I'm checking everywhere, running around like a madman, I'd probably be like, my heart would be going a million beats a second. I'd probably want to say, okay, this is bad. Who knows what the crazy shit that's been happening, and I might even get blamed for this. So I'd like say, all right, let me look around and grab like some of his good treasures just to have it, and then I'd try to take off. Like, I gotta leave the house.
Make an intelligence investigation check.
Right. Intelligence investigation. I wish I had the private eye, as he's good at that shit. Intelligence investigation. Ooh. I rolled a 16 for the people at home.
Okay. So you've been paid by him before, so you know where he kind of keeps like payroll and functionary money for his house. And so you go to it, find the, lockbox and pull it aside and take it with you. Based on its weight and its, size, you assume that there's probably somewhere around 200 to 300 coins of unknown denominations inside of that lockbox. The key, not so readily available. But do you search the gnome's body in any way besides?
I would try to do it respectfully, but he might have some of great value on him. So
the key is easy enough to find. You also note that he has a pocket on his pantaloons, and it appears to have another note in it.
Okay, I'd take that too, but like I said, I'm not going to read it at the moment. I'll read it later.
Okay.
And then I would probably grab up all the stuff I just spent. I would probably say a prayer, like last rites type prayer for Sydney, and tell him that I'll try to I'll have revenge on that woman. That's only right after what she did to you. And then I would take off, and I'm like, all right, I got to go somewhere.
Okay. So, as you're kind of going, you do kind of secure away the items you kind of recovered. Putting in a satchel bag the lockbox and taking a look at the note and kind of securing it away. As you do look at the note, you hadn't had a chance to flip it over and look at the other side. And on the back end, it says, in a very just jagged kind of writing style, it says, to Jared, Jason, Jacob.
Interesting.
Where do you go?
Well, that's the funny thing. I would definitely not go to Renn because he still doesn't seem to trust me all the way, so I don't trust him. I think I would go to...
You wouldn't know much about where he operates out of anyways.
Right. I don't even know. I would probably, actually, this is a horrible thing, but I'd probably go back to the party and, bring that party way the fuck down.
Yeah.
I'd bust in there. I'd be like, oh, somebody sacked my house, and I know who it was. That's
so,
the main thing.
Quick note, this would be probably about an hour, the events would have happened about an hour or so. Well, it would have taken you a good 30 to 40 minutes to get from his house, or her house rather, to your house. Even by trolley. And it would take you about the same to get back. You were there for about 20 or so minutes. So probably about an hour and a half later, you arrive back at that house. That said, Renn, Yenlorin, Valette, you were kind of in the middle of exchanges, kind of drinking in some regards, or faking it, and then pouring it out in lavatories. How long do you guys intend on staying there?
I think it depends on what Saer wants to do.
Yeah, what's her thoughts and feelings on what we've said, or what Renn said mostly?
Oh, Sarah's in full on like her mind right now is in Mama Bear's gotta protect her cubs.
Okay, but the cubs have
Even if
gone,
she
they're
took them away.
protected. What is
Oh, yeah,
Mama
they've
Bear
gone, but
doing?
the thing is, she wants, she's planning on going after the people who are going after her/her family.
Oh, so we're doing best defense is a good offense? You saying that?
Exactly.
Are you throwing that out to the goddamn group? Cause
Yeah.
let's
that's pretty much
go
what
kill
I'm
some fucking noble people.
Blades takes out his javelin and sort of thrusts her like, I'm good at the stabbing.
Blade's
doing.
very good
Do
at
not do the
stabbing.
stabbing in here.
He's true.
Right,
He
ma'am.
show you. You got little rat around? He stabbed little rat very good.
Kevin,
I do not have rats in my house.
they've been spending some time exchanging back and forth, discussing. There was questioning and so on. This time has passed. It's probably been about an hour and 30 minutes with what has all passed, especially with Jack coming back, securing stuff, and getting ready to go. You arrive at the house. What do you do?
Well, I'm thinking I probably got my act together on the way over, like calmed myself down, tried to wipe most of the blood off me and stuff, and then I would
Stop crying.
I'd go up to stop crying. I'd walk up to the house and I'd knock on the door, pretty hard and kind of
Yeah, same sort of routine of checking to see who's actually there.
You can see the top of his head, but it's the gnome.
I just turn to. I'm going to turn to Brox and be like, the gnome is outside.
Which gnome? I know at least 2 little gnomes in the city.
Maybe he got thirsty.
I open the door.
All right. You would see me standing there, but you would notice right away that there's like blood on my hands, and I tried to wipe most of it off, but you'd see some if you're any type of a perceptive person.
Little
then,
boy blue literally caught red-handed.
And then I have like a big bag in my hands, and I just look really concerned, and I'm like, and and then I would look around and see that there's people there, like besides Brox and her husband, and there's like
Everyone's there, but there is no husband, right?
yeah, there's Renn and there's Yenlorin and who the hell that guy is. I'd be like, oh man, I am so sorry if I've like interrupted your party. I have to talk to you guys, and except for I don't know if I should trust you, Renn, since you don't seem to trust me. But I have horrible news. And I was like, all right, who cares? I'll tell.
Doesn't trust you.
I was like, Renn, could I trust these guys that are with you?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know Yenlorin. I still feel bad about you shooting me in the back, but we'll talk about that later. So, no, you guys are not going to believe what happened. What happened was I was going home tonight after drinking with these guys. We were having a great party. It was a lot of fun. But
It was okay.
I got back, and I noticed that the guard wasn't in his normal spot. And I noticed somebody had attacked, and I found out who it was because I saw the person leave. They had a claw. It was the woman with a claw, that woman from the east. The claw chick. And
Wait.
what she did was she tore apart my Lord Sidney Wellenbart, who was actually a very good friend of mine, and I'm still in shock over this.
So Renn would look at Saer and say, so wait, your Lord Sidney Wellenbart, who is housing Jordan and Jason and Jacob, he's dead.
Yes, he's dead, and I didn't see anybody else in the house that wasn't supposed to be there. You know what I mean? It was just like him in there dead. So, I don't even know. For all I know, those greasy-haired guys, they could have been in league with him, but they weren't there. I saw her there. I saw the woman with the claw. She was there, and she'd already killed him. I tried to go and save him, but he was already torn apart. He was dead. I couldn't do anything about it. So, I guess I kind of panicked. I took some stuff out of there because I figured this is just really bad. That woman, to me, she walked into the Conglomerate Tower and just killed somebody, so obviously they don't have anything against her. And so I didn't feel safe in my, I didn't feel safe in there. So I figured I'd come here because I know at least you guys can kind of handle yourselves a little bit.
Mhm.
I didn't expect you to be here, Renn, but you know what? At this point, I don't really care.
Renn would say, I'm sorry that you're having a bad night. I'm going to make it just a little bit worse by saying that I heard from one of my sources that the new Magier's name is Gilbert Kirgozler.
No, not Gilbert, just Kirgozler.
Oh, Kirgozler.
Well, that can't be because that's my surname, and it's not a common name, and that just can't be. It must be like they're putting a puppet in there, and it's supposed to be that person. But I don't know what to even say. Like, there's like a lot of shock on my face when you tell me that. I'm just like, what?
Well, perhaps then we should all work together to figure out what's happening because it seems to be affecting all of us.
Yep, definitely. Can I crash here tonight? I look over at Saer. I'm like, can I crash here tonight? I really don't know where else to go where I would be, like, where I trust the people. Like, I know a lot of people, but I don't know them well enough. They could easily sell me out, These are a bunch of nobles and stuff, You know how they are. But I trust you guys.
Ben, how much space do you have at your place?
How much
Not as
space?
much as this.
And some of it's covered with blood. It's a nice house. I mean, it could be, but pretty soon people are gonna be like wondering what's going on,
I said Renn.
And he literally has blood on hands.
Yes, it literally looked like because when I found him, I was trying to see if I could save him, and I couldn't. He was in bad shape. But I don't trust. I'd say you'll have to excuse me, Renn, but I don't trust the law around here anymore after my last experience. So I don't want to go report it to them, and I don't really trust all of the nobles. I trust some of them, and I don't trust the Magiers, the Conglomerate, so I don't really know who to trust. I trust you guys.
These are the wisest words you've said so far, Gilbert. I think that we have to be careful with who we trust.
Right.
Sick burn.
So, would you like some beer?
This is great. We're gonna slowly turn Gilbert into one of those like 9/11 truthers. Everyone's
I'll
out
be
to get me, man.
Rudy Giuliani.
Well, wait.
All he does is mention 9/11.
To be fair, there's some real shit that you guys are putting in front of him. It's not like tinfoil hat shit. Like,
Right. This is real shit. And I just saw somebody. I saw the chick.
yeah.
So that's real shit. Unless you don't believe me, but which is possible. But
I
could
don't
be
know
totally
what
bullshit.
Viking would be doing with you. Oh,
Pardon me?
Viking. That's who I think that woman is.
Okay.
She is She's a skilled huntress, I suppose would be the best way to put it.
Yep. And I
Although-
avoided her, luckily.
Well, hunting animals is not what she does, at least. But
So, are you unpacking, Gilbert, and getting yourself kind of settled?
I'd say, do you mind if I find a corner of the room and just kind of chill? I mean, I could take off tomorrow, but I didn't want to take off in the middle of the night.
I'll make you place by furnace.
You
Maybe
make
you
me.
roll into it during the night.
Oh, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, we have some beer left over here. We might want to drink it.
As you're kind of getting yourself settled, Gilbert, you do note that you do have that note, and you also do note that you do have that lockbox.
All right. I think what I would do is I would, out of all the people, I still kind of distrust Renn a little bit, but I would probably take it to Saer and Brox and say, hey guys, here, look at this letter. Well, actually, I might open it myself first, see what it is, and then see if I want to share it with them.
Everybody who is not Gilbert, make a wisdom perception check.
Yeah, you're probably going to see me doing that for sure.
Natural 20.
Really
Oh
good.
man.
13.
Really good.
23.
Okay.
8.
What?
So,
Wow.
Saer and Jimmy Blades, you see him pull out a note, a message. On the end that he looks at, you see that it says to Jacob, Jared, and Jason. But when he flips it over and looks like he's about ready to go to unseal it,
I would be walking over there as soon
Yep.
as I...
but probably not as frightful as Valette will be. The second you see the seal, you recognize what it is. If the seal is broken, the location basically pings out to anyone who is magically scrying.
Over to snatch it out of his.
Alright.
Well, you don't know that is the case.
Yeah.
Matt.
Oh, I don't know that.
You do not know that
He knows.
portion about it. He's Conglomerate.
Jimmy Blade shouts out, don't open that letter! Trust me!
Saer, make an athletics check. Gilbert, opposed, please. Because you said you were grabbing it. You wanted to get a hold of it. Not so much for the...
Yeah.
You see the names. You want to know what it's about. Okay.
Athletics. Alright, sorry, I gotta roll my
No, it's okay.
Not so good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I rolled a 10 for the people at home.
You snatch it right out of Gilbert's hands with that 21. Snatch it right out of his hands. And then Jimmy Blade's like, he says what he says. But you see who it's addressed to. It's addressed to the 3 that are seeking you out. But he's saying, what do you do?
Where did you get this letter?
It was on top of my lord's body. And
Ne-
I didn't know there. What do you think the deal with it is?
I'm assuming Jimmy's getting invested and closer to the group, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't open that.
Like, I'm
Not
moving
opening it,
next.
I'm just-
Why shouldn't we open it?
Well, you see, I don't always work in the most reputable of businesses, you might say, and once we found a letter with that kind of seal on it, and the minute we opened it up to see if it had any valuable information, well,
What's the slang? I use the slang term for conglomerate.
they came on us right quick. Well, one of the crew thought it might have pinged them or something.
Yeah, the phones got there real quick.
Curls
Okay.
is the word you're looking for.
Curls.
The curls got there real quick.
Okay. Well, thank you for stopping me from doing something really stupid. That would have been a disaster. I wouldn't want your house to get totally raided.
Gilbert, shut up. Do you know, is there a way to unseal it without pinging?
I'm not really that magically inclined, if you will, but I guess I could try and make contact somewhere to get that information.
Yenlorin, you're kind of looking at it and making an intelligence arcana check.
Sorry for telling you to shut up, Kevin. It just seemed like
17.
right there.
That's okay. That's
You're
fine.
pretty sure that the seal in question is set to detonate its ping symbol when the wax is broken and the letter is opened up. You actually are pretty certain, very confident, that you can cut the paper in such a way that you remove that circle of the paper and are able to open the document but maintain the seal.
To be fair, that was going to be my next thought.
But you're pretty sure that if someone clumsily tried to do it, there are kind of safeguards against it. You're certain with that roll you could personally do it.
I share that. If you like, I can try what I say I can try.
I'm wondering if we should do that in a different house. Like, take it somewhere and
I
open
just hand Yenlorin the letter.
Okay.
it.
Do you pull out a dagger and get to work?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very quickly he removes the seal, sets it to the side, or do you pocket that?
Pocket it.
Okay. You're pretty sure that you kind of have a... Yeah, you know what you're thinking. But yeah, if you open up the letter and kind of set the seal upside down so you can see what was written on the back end, which is not much because it was holding the edges, you would see that the letter appears to be addressed to. It says, "To whichever member of the Adams family receives this letter in kind. I apologize about your friend and host in this city. That said, you have 2 options. Your first option is to meet the same fate that your friend has met here, as I seek you out in the city. Your second option is to turn yourself in at the High Tower when you're ready." Signed, Witch Hunter Biken.
Can anyone hear a forged letter?
Real quick, do you read it aloud or do you just kind of just read it to yourself, Yenlorin?
I don't know if he heard you.
Zach?
Oh, I read it aloud.
Okay. So, Tim, I need you to make me just raw charisma deception check.
Alright. Raw charisma. Wait, you said charisma deception?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I got a 15.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Kevin, at the mention of Witch Hunter Biken, this Jimmy Blaze guy kind of lets out a gasp and covers his mouth. The gasp almost seems a bit out of character. Like, his voice seemed gruff up until that gasp. It seemed like a more androgynous, possibly feminine gasp that you noticed, and it doesn't seem anybody else did.
Sweet. All right. I'd probably just glance over at him real quick. You know, just to look at him and see that he notices I'm looking at him. And
Yeah.
just kind of nod and look away.
Valette, you kind of like hold your face for a second, then lower your hand, and then look at the damn gnome, who seems to be looking at you, and you know exactly why he's looking at you.
Yeah.
Because he wants you.
Jimmy Blades.
So I do have another letter too, right?
Uh-huh.
I grab that one out next, and I'd be like, all right, before I look at this, maybe somebody who knows anything about magic might want to look at it.
This one,
Another letter I found.
This
I
one
found it on his body.
is a bit more of a crumpled note. It doesn't have any seals or holds to it. It looks like it's already been read. And if you kind of altogether kind of pull it out and look at it, it seems to have 3 pieces of information. Only 3. Very simple pieces of information. Information piece number 1. The acquisition of Saer is the first line that's written at the top. Just beneath that, 5,000 gold pieces. And beneath that, a symbol, which is very quickly identified by Saer. It appears to be an angel with its wings ripped off of it and red ink kind of dripping on alongside of it. Looks like it was very quickly drawn, this symbol, not stamped. Looks like it was hand-drawn. And the red ink appears to be... You're not sure if it's actual blood or not.
I thought that would have cost at least 7,000.
It was 5,000? Or 5,000 gold? Alright, what about, what was the third one again? Could you say those real quick?
So the first piece of information for the acquisition of Saer.
Right.
Price tag, 5,000 gold pieces. Symbol.
Symbol?
The symbol that I mentioned, the bloody angel.
Oh, that symbol? Okay, cool. Symbol, yeah.
Yeah.
The symbol with the, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. The angel?
It's a bloody angel, yeah.
The bloody angel? Okay, cool. So then what else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
That's all that's on that note.
Alright, cool. That's cool though.
I mean, I know exactly what all of that means.
You assume
Somebody
from
wants
its crumpled up position and where you found it kind of secretly up in his weird pocket on his pantaloons, he kind of was keeping this close to the chest before a claw was thrown through it.
Yeah. Damn. Somebody really wants you bad.
Okay. Do you investigate the lockbox or do you just leave that to yourself? You don't
Well,
have the key.
I don't have the key. Wait, I thought I did find the key. Or maybe I didn't.
Oh yeah, you did find the key. It was on his
On
belt.
his body, yeah.
That's right.
I found the key. Alright, well, since we're kind of in mixed company here, I don't want to like start whipping out lots of gold.
That's fine. It
Just kinda
stays
keep it
inside.
sitting.
Stays inside the bag over to where you set your stuff. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's go through real quick. Andy, are you staying at this house, or are you returning back to your office for the night?
Office. Unless Sarah wants otherwise.
Okay.
Sarah can take care of herself if
I
needed.
think so too.
Okay. So Ren's gonna head home. Tim, where's Jimmy Blades going?
He'll at least depart with Yenlorin, and from there, he'll probably go with Yenlorin, but play it off. He'll probably make it sound like he's going somewhere else, and then like loop around the block to meet up with Yenlorin to follow him to wherever Yenlorin's going.
So they seem
So,
like
like,
they're
they don't
separate,
actually-
but they aren't.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like they know each other, but they don't live together.
Yeah,
They're not
Lauren,
partners, huh?
are you trying to stay here, or are you trying to go back to stay with Renn, or do you have another arrangement?
Which is fine too.
I'm gonna try and stay here, so it's I don't know, man. I feel like just having Matt here by himself, I'm nervous, and if he'll allow,
Well-
if you have the room for a man like me, I need very little, only about 8x4 square on floor. 8x4 rectangle on floor.
Yeah, basically, John, my plan is if a couple of them can sit in the kids' room, I'm going to stick a padlock onto my door to my bedroom.
And you actually, because your husband's profession, you have a bit more than just padlock positioning. The bedroom door and the front door of the house have a series of 6 locks. Again, the house is actually very defensible, and there isn't so much. It's not a dead end gap stop for you. There are the back windows that lead into the back alleyway behind the house, and then there is the utilities chamber that can actually secure you access to a utilities corridor that leads to the sewers. So you know there are methods for you to escape the house and also secure the house's exit or egress points.
Of course there is.
Right.
I'm worth 5,000 gold apparently, which again I feel like I'm getting there.
Should be way more than that.
Come on.
Anywho, that said, Brox is obviously still here and has his cot set up, like, and there's about a keg, and maybe a keg and a half still left of that alcohol to drink. Gilbert's by
This is very true.
Gilbert by happen chance is probably going to be stuck here as well, just based on his connections so far. It sounds like he might be important in this all as well. Yeah, Lauren's offering to stay. Go ahead.
If Yenlorin like proposes staying, I would sort of make my adieus, or I'd try to grab Yenlorin to the side. They'll have like a private friends conversation, and then basically saying that like, just look out for me in the morning. You'll know who I am, and then go outside, like say goodbye to everyone, leave, but not leave, and try to get access to the roof, or like a roof nearby to keep watch at night.
Quick note: the building that you've seen this already, and I didn't explain it too well because we just went right into the house. I didn't explain the exterior, but most of the buildings in the city aren't just like standalone buildings with surrounds. They're set into larger buildings and are sections and portions of that. Saer's shop is no different. It is basically a hole in the wall that actually goes the full length of the building that it's set in. It only goes up 2 stories, and above it are 4 more stories of houses. You would note on the back end of the house, like if you do go around to kind of investigate, there are windows up on the 2nd floor, but not on the 1st floor. But there does appear to be a very large steel pipe that goes out of the back of the house and just ascends up the length of the building all the way to the top. It's currently cold because no one's firing anything, but you assume that if there's a blacksmith forge in the back of the house, or back of the apartments rather, that's where it would kind of stem from, the flue to get the smoke out. And there's really no point of egress from the back end. There's no way back into the house or onto it.
Okay. Then I would just try to find a decent place to sort of keep watch on the front door, like cross the street or what have you, and just sort of like hide out and stake out the house to make sure no one comes.
Staying outside, kind of trying to find a good position to stay in, and kind of keeping yourself like not visible. Perfect.
Yeah.
Understandable. With of course a moment where you find a nice safe spot where you can kind of seal up. Got it. Okay.
And I don't plan on sleeping.
Well, you don't sleep. You
Right.
downtime.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Right. You'll have to downtime at some point during the night, but yeah, you'll set aside so you can still look. I mean, you're not dead in the water. And then from those that are inside, it looks like the only person who's heading back to Renn's office is Renn. Is no one going? Everyone else is staying at Saer's house.
Apparently.
Okay,
Apparently, be careful, Renn.
sounds good.
There's crazy stuff happening out there.
All right, and that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it off. We will start next session, which will be a couple weeks out. We will start that next session basically either in the night or in the morning, depending on what I roll on my end and how that affects you guys. I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream. Thank you guys for watching the second session.
Bye. Good night.
Really cool. Quick shout out.
Good night.
It seems on Twitter we got picked up by Steam support, which is a Twitter thing that posts people who have low numbers. So that's cool. Thank you. Shout out to you guys. You guys are great. Blasting us on the
Hey, thanks.
Twitter. And yeah, go ahead and see you. It'll be a couple of weeks. Just keep an eye on this space, and you should see a notification saying when we are going to go ahead and be bringing out that next episode. Good night, everybody.
Good night.